Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Session 6 Mahjong. Nathaniel here, joined by Philip for the American Ricci Mahjong League, and it is the final session of the spring season in 2023. Philip, I know that you and I both have been looking forward to this moment for a very, very long time, and we're finally here, starting off with a B2 match.
Yes, sir. Always in a good mood for Monday Night Mahjong. Even better if it's session six games where the wild and unforeseen happens at a more common rate. Uh,
Absolutely. I mean, this is the time where it's your last chance, last four games that will determine whether you promote to the next division or demote or manage to just stay in your current one. And right now we're looking at Wenchen, Christine, Gaohan, and Andrew, all with different goals at this table. Wenchen in promotion zone already, going to move up to B1. Christine just outside that mark, needs to hit a minimum of 104.4 in the standings current state in order to make it into the promotion zone. Gaohan a little bit farther behind at plus 69. So those three definitely looking to advance. And Andrew on the other end in 19th place, currently sitting in the bottommost emotion slot, or I guess that's the topmost, but can climb out very easily with just a positive 32,000 game. So we'll see if Andrew could pull off a good one tonight. We're into
yeah,
things
of
here.
course.
Galhan, our first dealer, Wenchen to the right, Andrew across the table, and Christine on the left.
Yeah. And getting right into it, Galhan just immediately, as dealer, calls the pay pair and is looking to rush down this Honitsu. Uh, Hoping to draw into another Hatsu and get that door pair to make this to a dealer Mangan. But to our right, we have Wenchen looking to build a really standard Ricci Pinfu hand, maybe if it's in Tanyao, and could, in some. Oh, but this is Tenpai.
Yeah,
Do
what
you take the Tonki?
I don't think you take the Tonki. You just have to wait. But no, goes for it. Says people will believe in the outside tile to the 7 mon. And listen, there's some strategy to this. Once you discard the 7 mon, players are incentivized to follow suit. If they're playing safe, you know the 7 mon is safe. It's in the discard pond. You can't win on that. And if enough 7 mon come out, players will believe their wall has formed and the 8 will be safe. Or you could just be Gauhan and be going for a Soho Nitsu and draw the wrong tile. We'll see if this pushes Gauhan away from completing his hand or not.
Yeah, and I think with that 9-so discard, may be looking to Mawashi a little bit. It's hard to push this hand, especially because you have this lone Dora tile,
Right.
and it's a bit hard to push that into the turn 1 Ricci. And seems like with these Tune discards is looking to just fold out fully. Um, and then it looks like Christine is well, doesn't matter. Wen Chen does sumo on the 8 Montanki, Ricci sumo, and will take this dealer position.
Before we switch perspective, Gaohan starting with this North Uncle already. Doesn't need to call for it this time. We'll see if he's able to push this hand forward. It has a door connector in the 8, so we're looking at the hand on the left now. And okay shaped in the Manzu there. Would like to ideally put this together closed. Gaohan is somewhat of a closed player. Doesn't typically open unless the situation is really good for it. Our dealer, Wenchen, after winning that last hand with a Tsumo, has a pretty good opener as the dealer this time around. Chance at Tanya, maybe even 3-4-5 Sanshoku. On the right, there are good sequences in the Mansu. Not so good blocks elsewhere. The 6-so, though, is a great connector. It enables you to use the Dora. And now you have multiple pairs. So in addition to the chance at Ipeko in the lower Manzu, you could just end up with 7 pairs. Let's see.
How do you feel about Ryan Peiko with that hand?
I would love to get it. It is a little tricky. You do need to draw 3-pin, 3-pin, and of course a 2-mon, but it's certainly an option you're thinking about. The hand across for Christine, the last one to look at, is looking very strong. That 4-mon, certainly a beautiful connector to one of your nice middle floating tiles in the Manzu. This hand's Ishan 10 already for Ricci, Pinfu, maybe even Tanyao, plus the Dora.
Yeah, of course. And you would You're kind of sad that you can't fit in the Sanchoku with that 4-pin draw, but uh, one Ura or even a Sumo, and you're looking at a good Mangan.
Speaking of Sanchoku, Wenshin has drawn into Tenpai after calling the Tuso. Our dealer has the Tanyao Sanchoku Tenpai waiting for the 4-mon. There are 2 left in the wall. Could switch up to a Shabo, but I see no need when you can get the extra value with the Tanya here. And also the 8-mon is dead, so it doesn't make any sense mathematically. We will see the Richi come out from Christine across the way. Richi, Pinfu, Dora 1.
Yep. 4 tiles left in this weight. Pretty good, Ricci, honestly.
Oh, and
Here's one of them.
yeah. Wenshin goes for the higher win rate, gives up on the Sanchoku, but it didn't matter. Either way, it was going to deal in to that 3-6-mon weight. Just Richi, Pinfu, and the Dora, of course, for 3,900. Had there been a wait one turn decision, would have gotten the upgrade for Tanya as well, but in most situations, it doesn't make sense to do that anyway, so you can't complain about picking up nice win. Christine looking good in first place here, moving into East 3.
Now, the hand that really stands out to me is across the way,
Oh.
Gaohan. A lot of different options. 3 wind pairs right now. We could see Sushi discarded the 1-so, so it seems to be giving up on the Kokoshi. But this could very easily turn into a very nice Honitsu hand, just with a lot of foo.
Yeah, I mean, the door is the Shun, the red dragon, and there's 1 in hand. Would love to see it paired up. Insta-call the West Wind, as that is Yakuhai. And again, the North has been sitting in at least a pair in Gaohan's hand every single Haipai. So we'll see if we can find another pawn there. And you're right, South, still 3 in the wall. So we could see Shoal Sushi.
Ooh. Kind of wishing he held on to that 1-mon. Could have made it into Honroto, another rare Yaku, to fit into this.
Just draw the pay yourself. But their other hands are quite good. I mean, on the left, that is 2 away from Tenpai for Wenshin. For Tanyao, potential Sanchoku 3-4-5. Again, is like a mirror to the hand prior. And for Andrew, our dealer, could try to build vertical. Already has an Anko of the 9-pin. And drawing more and more pairs here might be a toy play in the future.
Right. And this is one of the consequences of one player having all of the honor tiles. The other players end up having us to worry about. And Gohan has an opportunity to con the North, decides against it. Instead going to cut away from that 5-7 pin.
Yeah, feels like a play towards Honitsu in the Sozu. In the meantime, Wenshin on the left has drawn into Ishanten, just looking for a 6-7-9 in the Manzu, or a 2-5 in the Sozu, or the 7-so would also work. 7-so being held by Andrew. Unlikely to see that come out.
Christine on the right also working towards a strong Richi Pinfu hand. Could even fit into a Sanchoku in there with a 4-so draw.
Oh, decided to go for the 2-3-4 Sanchoku and then drew the 1-mon. Unfortunate backfire. Oh, and speaking of backfires, there's the second tune for Gaohan. Would have been Tenpai here for Toy Honroto Yakuhai Million. Maybe even Sanonko chance, but instead it's going to be Wenshin with the Richi Tanyao, and chance at Sanchoku if you can get the 5. So, but we see the pawn of the East, Gaohan now Tenpai on the 7-so and 8-so for Honitsu, Yakuhai, potential Toy if the 8-so is the winner.
Yeah, and we've also been ignoring the dealer hand here.
Oh!
Andrew is actually Suanku Ishanten.
Is that live? 2-pin is not. 7-so is not. So can get Tenpai here, but would need to roll and would not be able to draw into the Suanko here.
Right, unfortunate. But Christine on the right has also drawn into a chance at 2-3-4. It's actually folded out of it, my bad.
Yeah, would have had Tenpai here, but certainly understandable to not want to risk any of these tile discards. And then you've got the Richi across from you in Wenshin. And there's the Tsumo Takabe. 5-so, Richi, Tsumo, Tanyao, Sanshoku. And check Ura-san! Well, hold on a second. I thought it was just going to be a Hanuman flipping one, but let's make that a Baimon, and all of a sudden Wenshen has taken the lead away from Christine, knocked everyone below 30,000.
Disgusting. How do you get a Sashiko hand and you hit the Ura 3?
That's
Unbelievable.
absolute perfection for Wenshen. Missed out on the Sanchoku in the previous hand, but gets rewarded in this one. And I mean, if this game can continue at this rate, Wenshen will be just confirmed promoting a big first place here, and Wenshen could even move ahead of Stanley in third place with, of course, 3 games to go and most of the division yet to play games, but it's very unlikely, would be very unexpected for Wenshen to fall back down to the rest of the pack. So this is looking very good. Christine
Right.
now our dealer. Dora's the North Wind, and we see that get paired up on the left in Andrew's hand. Andrew, of course, in the north seat, can call Pon there for a Mangan. North Dora 3. Christine opened up on the White Dragon already and is 2 away from Tempai.
Pretty callable shapes. On our right, Gohan is actually Ishan 10,
In a couple different
or
ways.
yeah,
How about Ishanten for Suanko?
wow,
And this one I think is
wow,
live. 7.
yeah, two Hatsus, no, one Hatsu,
One
still
Hatsu, one
live.
3 pin. Those are the only tiles left of the wall. So you need to draw perfectly, but it's technically live. And Andrew's trying to shut this down with the Ricci on the left. Not Pinfu, not Yakuhai Dora 3, but will be Ricci Dora 2, waiting on the 1-4. So minimum 5,200 points.
Yeah, and how far do you push this? Suwonko Ishan 10 is a question. Do
Oh,
you call
yeah.
this 3-pin, take the Tenpai for Toy Toy? You do.
I think that's a pretty
Hatsu
safe
10.
cut. So there's value here. If anyone draws the Hatsu, it is safe to the first Ricci. You might expect to see that come out.
Yeah. After making this call, I guess with the 3-pin call, 4-pin doesn't look as bad.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
here's
still
Tenpai for
doesn't feel
dealer.
good because you can only see 1 5-pin. Oh, but the sumo, it's gonna be Sanako on top of things. Sanako Toy Toy Hatsu, and that's a Mangan for Gaohan, moving into second place. And unfortunately, Christine taking the Oyakaburi had no say in the matter. That was just a glorious hand for Gaohan. We are,
Hey,
I mean,
you can't win the stupid hands if you don't push them. That's all I have to say.
Sanako, a very rare Yaku, but we've seen a couple very recently, several Suanko Tempais, one that even won, Isabella, I believe in B3, winning a Suanko the other day, and now a Sanako with 2 Suanko chances already in this game. It seems very, very much like that is the Yaku of the week.
Yeah, Wall has been super generous lately with the Yakuman Senpais. I think on one day we saw somewhere like 3 to 4 Suanko chances.
Yep.
But dealer have Tenpai. Do you take the Shampoo? Or no, not the Shampoo. Do you take the 3-6 pin? Pinfu Wei?
Does choose a
Dama's
3
it.
6. Yeah. Dama's interesting.
Pinfu Dora maybe feels that 3-6 pin is probably the weakest Suji weight to wait on, given the proximity to Dora
There
five
is a
pin.
way an upward a way to upgrade the hand. The 1 pin draw gives you a chance at Itsu,
Hmm.
and I wonder if Gohan is willing to just sumo the 6 pin if it's drawn.
I think the 6 pin sumo is fairly normal if you get it while you're Dama. Uh, but as dealer, I think slamming this without waiting for the upgrade is fairly normal
Yes,
because
I think so.
the one pin, while it does represent a upgrade, it's only 2 Han over what you already have, and I think the rule of thumb is you want
Oh,
upgrades of. Oh,
waited till
oh,
the end of the row one. Said, all right, after the row one, I'll reach you whatever tile I get. Took the reaching, of course. Then, just then, draws the 1 pin. Would have been the upgrade. It's okay as long as we win on the 3 pin and not the 6. It doesn't affect anything. But all the 6 pin are in the
oh.
wall.
Yeah, all the 6 pin in the wall, and you have at least Andrew building towards a hand that probably won't be using the 6-pin. Does have the 5-pin connector.
Hmm.
Here's the first 6-pin. Not going to throw that.
Yeah, can Wenshin actually fight this? It is technically Ishanten, but no, backs away with the Genbutsu 3, so it's completely safe as it is in the discard pawn for Gaohan. I wonder if there's any draws that will encourage Wenshin to actually push this. There's a 3-pin, so now the number of weights is decreasing to 4.
Still pretty good, considering how late the hand is going. You expect to draw at least one of them.
I make
There's one
that
6-pin.
3.
You know, we were talking about how, oh, if you just waited a little bit longer,
質問
oh, well, winning on the 3-pin does
Right.
not in fact care. Lost the 1-pin upgrade. And you know, if that had gone to exhaustive draw, would have also not cared as much.
Right. But as it is a very nice Tsubo win for Gaohan, who will retain the dealership. And 26 all. And climbs into first place. And I see you oohing. I'm guessing it's the hand on the left.
It is indeed the hand on the left.
Did that have a
Lots-
Kokushi chance?
Not really Kokushi. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But when you have 3 Yakuhai pairs, you're just gonna call down.
Right, yeah. In this
And then
case,
you're gonna add Honitsu on top of that.
yeah, that looks like Christine is thinking that So Honitsu is going to be the play. Honestly, there might have been a Honroto choice. Just the way that
Yeah,
you had all these so many terminals. But wow, Ricci from Wenshin on the right on just the 8-mon. Ricci Dora 1.
Ichi, yeah. Feeling good about the 8-mon or the early Ricci against the 3 calls player.
Yeah, it's very hard to defend with 3 calls.
Mm-hmm. And even while we talked about that, dealer has also reached Ishanten, now with a Hatsuanko, so can call any of these pawns to get into Tenpai.
Yeah, a little bit
Has a door
awkward
now as well.
that we draw the Dora here. And this is actually... Oh, leaning towards Chitoi, but backs that way with it with the 3, so... Could have tried a Chitoi to sort of mawashi your way, but this is more direct. It might end up in Chitoi anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, and Christine has done it. This is Tenpai.
5-8 though.
But 8-mon is Suji now. The 5-mon came out from the right.
Tsumo.
Oh, there's a Tsumo anyway. 8-mon back to back in the wall. Richi Tsumo Dora. 1 as well, so Mangan Wenshin back on top.
Wenshin hitting all the Uradora this game. First an Ura 3 and then a good Ura 1 just to boost it up to Mangan. From a pretty normal looking hand, Richidora.
Here we go into South 2. Wenshin dealer.
Yep. Starts with the South pair in hand. Could call this down. Try to just get a repeat. To our right. That is a Daisangan real hand, if I've ever seen one. Has a pair of red, pair of green, and then the singular Haku. Josangan, Honitsu, pretty something to aim for with that. But you can also just call down for your 2 Yakuhai, add a Honitsu on top if you're lucky. Crossed away. Pretty normal looking hand. Has the east pair, 3 pairs in hand. You may want to just cut from one of them if you want to go for a more normal looking hand. And to our left, another fairly average hand. A lot of conchons that need to get filled.
Yeah, we saw the first Haku come out from Christine across the way. And as you said, cuts away from one of the pairs. East-East coming out because we are in the South round. East is a lot less useful to non-dealer players in the South round. And Andrew on the right hasn't really made any progress with this Daisangan, hasn't seen the Hatsu or the Chun come out. But we do have Wenshin calling the South for the Yakuhai, and the Green Dragon does come out, so Andrew also started to make some progress now.
Yep. And does appear to be building for the Bamboo Honitsu. Discards the 7 pin, keeps all the so tiles intact.
If you're Andrew,
Chi.
oh, that's a good chi.
Hmm.
Andrew seems to be hedging normal hand still with, oh, actually,
Oh, that chi was a little interesting. I think usually you would want to cheat a 7-9 so with the 8 so,
in my mind,
but
I thought that was a 7-9 chi. And then I looked up again
mhm.
and saw it was actually the 6-7-8, which it does leave you with floating 6 and 9, which the 6 so is a good floater. The 9 so less of a good floater, so I think I'd
Chi.
prefer to have two sixes there for the chance to pull.
Yeah, I think maybe maybe a misclick potentially,
Yeah, that certainly has
or
happened to me on multiple occasions.
yeah,
Dom.
and yeah, depending on the client you play, the way you call tiles can also be a little confusing. I know that on the premium Tenho client, the Windows client, you don't get call options. You click the tiles that you want to call with. So a lot of error there possible.
Uh, it is Christine winning out with the Tanya Dora hand, as the 6-0 did end up leaving Andrew's hand. And in this spot, Andrew really looking for a bit of a dealer run. Fortunately for Andrew, someone else is down below 30,000 with him. I mean, Wenshen and Gaohan have just been running away with this game. No one else has really had much of a chance. But this is your final chance to make up a lot of points at once. It looks like Andrew might be able to call the Hatsu and speed his way to a win. But these draws are coming together pretty
Bonk.
nicely. You could even just end up taking a Richi Nomi here. It's Toyman who opens up with the Chun and very good Mon tiles. This is already super wide Ishan 10 for Honitsu.
Yeah, kind of the dream hand, honestly. You get a little bit more value to push from second place up to first. And also, just given how fast the hand is, you can keep the dealer from getting a bunch of repeats and running up the score.
Well, this
Is
is
this Tempai?
not the
It
tempo you
is.
want.
Yeah, waiting on the 3 mon only.
I wonder if there was any play there to just reject Tempai, or if this is just good enough. Because there are a lot of
Mm,
calls that you can make even here that will switch you to a Tempai that's better.
right. I think some instant calls for me. Pay comes out, definitely call that. Switch, discard to 1 mon, get 2 5 mon.
Pom.
Uh, yeah, maybe if you get a 5 mon draw as well, you
Hmm.
can discard a 1 mon again,
You could even Chi a
or
5
2
mon,
mon.
discard one for
Yeah.
two pay, like you're saying.
Hmm.
Yeah, the problem with the 8 though is that you do lose 6 and 9 as
Eat.
cheese, but you'd be on an awkward shot where you're really relying on the North to come out at that rate. We do see a reach from Andrew, who did pass up the Green Dragon Pawn, and now is waiting Richi Nomi on the 5 pin. There are 3 left on in the wall, which is quite good for a closed wait, with one's being cut already.
Yeah, and in this important match, as Redstone mentioned in chat, Galhan did end up folding to the Ricci, discarded the 1 mon on the 3 pin draw, and is now discarded the pay pair,
Does find a way back into
hedging as
Tempai, but
much.
it's Hudi 10.
Ooh, 4 pin was Furry 10, so did not deal in.
Yeah, there are some instances where you just have to fight for your hand, but
Sumo.
against Dealer Ricci, there is some. It is can be quite weak. Sumo comes in. Andrew actually finding one of the last 2 copies of the 5 pin, and so, as he's hoping for, the dealership will continue. And now there's a chance at 789 Sanchoku with a Dora 5 so. That 5 so is actually kind of awkward if you're thinking about making like a Chanta or a Junchan hand, an outside hand. But when you draw the 6 so, now it gives you options at in Itsu in the Sozu 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So lots of flexibility in this hand, even though the shapes are not amazing.
Yeah, and when you get these kinds of hands as dealer, you're a little bit sad, because as dealer, you kind of want to prioritize efficiency, faster shapes, being able to call, keep your dealer turn. But with these kinds of hands, it's either you get value or you have to fold, is my thought a lot of the time.
Yeah, it looks like Andrew is giving up on the 789 Sanchoku, still thinking, holding out for the Itsu perhaps, but also, I think, prepared to turn this into a Tanyao. And seven mon is a great draw. Now has to make a real tough decision here. Decides to hold the Itsu open even now. There's still 6, 7, 8 Sanchoku possible. And if nothing else, Arichi Dora 1 is still quite strong as dealer.
Now we did see Dahatsu come out and the pawn gets skipped by Christine on the right. Seems to be building towards the Chitoi, has Chitoi Yishan 10. And Arrow Live as well. Would probably just aiming for the Richi Chitoi, flip to Ura, get the Mangan, uh, which is just enough to get back to 30k with the extra Homba in the middle.
Yeah, if you call Poland, you're kind of hoping for a Chanta or a Toy Toy or something along those lines. I think if Christine had the if that east pair instead was a south pair, she might be more inclined to open the hand because that would be double south, Hatsu, maybe even Chanta for a Mangan. And with the east, though, it is a little less valuable to open up here, and so I see that seems to make some sense.
Right. And yeah, like if you had if you had the double south, you could even just have Hatsu double south, Toy Toy, and that would be the Mangan you need. But here is Chitoi Tenpai,
リーチ
waiting on the south probably.
Yeah, once cut south. It is her wind, so it does make it a little scary for other players to discard this. It also might be a little bit tricky for other players to try to read what hand she's got with all these pin discards. An early so cut, but only one so cut.
Right.
Oh no, he put Sim on
Oh!
the 8 man. I mean, you couldn't have known, but that's
No way
tragic.
to know. No way, no way. Uh, Tragic for Christine there, but
リーチ
um,
Dealer with a chance.
make it rewarded in the end. We see a chase from dealer.
Should be a 9 cut, and this is amazing chance. There's a chance that Tanyao and Sanchoku if the 6 pin comes out.
There's only one 6-pin left in the wall now.
At the very least, this is Ricci, Pinfu, Dora.
Now it becomes a race. There's the last south. Does it come out?
Yeah. Oh, 9 instead. That will deal in. It's not the maximum value, not Takame, but we do have Ricci, Pinfu, Dora, and chance at Ura misses.
Ooh, that Ura hit would have been really drastic. Would have actually
Would.
flipped positions for Andrew and Gaohan, boosting up to dealer Mangan.
But look at this now. Andrew in third place, starting the comeback. And this high pie, very strong as well. Look, to Dora and the south to call. It almost has the feel of a Chitoi because you've got so many pairs. But to be honest, I think you're going to open the hand and take your south Dora 2 or even Dora 3. I mean, there's a world where you could get
Yeah.
Toy Toy.
Yeah, I think if you get an 8-pin or even the Dora call, you're really thinking about grabbing Toy Toy with this hand.
Yeah, I
As
think
the 9-pin and south are so callable.
8-pin pull is certainly a valuable strategy here. Even if you end up Otozuke on the south.
And then with that 6-mon discard, could even be hedging the Honitsu with the pin half flush.
So a lot of options here for our dealer, and we see that flexibility is good. I mean, had a lot of options in the last round and ended up getting almost maximum value, a chance at maximum value. We do see a call to the left. It is Wenshin who is in first place, trying to shut this dealership down with a either a Chanta or just a pay, depending on what comes into hand. We also see Christine opening up, not wanting to allow Andrew to pass her up. So aiming for a Tanyao here, but needs a few more calls. A lot of pairs in the hand, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is when you're wishing you had stayed closed and were Chitoi Ishan.
Yeah, all these pairs could be Ishan, but you wouldn't have drawn these tiles without the call, so feeling a little bit more justified after that, pulling into Ishan 10.
ポン
Speaking of pawns, Andrew matching the speed, moving closer and closer, but Christine will actually get Tempai first. It's not the ideal weight. 3-pin, 4-pin Shabo.
Right. Dealer moving into Ishan 10. Just needs to make, or I guess this is Neon Shanten actually.
Yeah, 2
Needs to
away.
drop one of these pairs. Yeah, and Winshen actually has incentive to push pretty hard here. Uh, can potentially drop Gaohan below 30k, get an extra 5 points of Uma for being the only one above, but would have to deal in with that, or needs to draw on
Boom.
this 3 pin if he doesn't
Oh
want
no!
to deal in. Oh, but this 4 pin is looking really loose now, Andrew.
It feels like it
Not
just has to come
likely,
out.
yeah.
As
If you
soon
get any of these pawns,
Exactly.
then
Oh, but Christine draws an improvement, picks up a door, and now has a 2-5 weight, but that means that the 4 can safely leave Andrew's hand, and so we could be saved here.
uh, right. I get a praise in chat. Need to hope that this 2 pin doesn't come out.
All the 2 pins being held for Christine. There are 2 more 5 pin in the wall, and Wenshin here now. Ishanten choosing to hold this Chun knows that it's a dangerous tile on this board, but Christine can't afford to hold it. It will
Boom.
come out. We will see the pawn from Andrew. Tempai on 2 pin and the south. 2 pin being held, but south twice in the wall. Where are they? He's been looking
my
callies the whole
gosh.
time, and this is a ton of value. Chun, Honitsu, Dora 2, potentially south as well, and Toy Toy. And there's a south, but
Yeah,
Gaohound cannot drop this.
yeah, no way.
2 more
Yeah,
draws.
this is a
And
Sumo.
Christine
Yo
gets the
Hanuman.
Sumo!
Oh,
Oh,
Hanyo Dora.
if that 5 pin was a south, that would have been the worst possible outcome for her. But Christine ends up stealing it away and will take third place going into all last.
Wow, that was so tense. I thought it was all last, but we had one more dealership to go through.
Indeed, yeah. Andrew made a good run of it. I mean, what started at 11,000 points and even 8 Oyakaburi Tsumo there to drop even further, but still in a very respectable 20,000 has a chance to make it to even second
Boom.
because now Gaohan has dropped below 30,000 and Wenshin, seeing that, opens up with a Haku, just wants to end this hand, claim the first place with the bonus 5 points of Uma plus 20 if you can keep everyone below 30,000.
Yeah, but dealer here, very fast hand. Already Yishan 10 has the chance for Itsu as well. A lot of value.
With a Dora, imagine Richi Itsu Dora. It's on Mangan, 12,000 points. Oh, when you might open here.
There's,
Do you open here? It's
I
the
feel like,
second
yeah,
7.
second 7, so I think me personally, I'm still a little bit greedy. I'm not, okay, maybe I should have been less greedy.
Well, the thing is, even if
But
you don't call it, you still have other options. You can draw the 9 so, you can draw the 5 mon, take a Richi. You can even draw a connector to the 5 mon, like a 4 or a 6. Drop the 8 so, give up on Itsu, and take your Richi Pinfu Dora. That's still value play. If you
right,
call that hand, that tile, you know you're only going to get 2,900 out of this hand. And you might even end up in Furiten yourself if you draw another 7, because you are required to win on the 4 so there.
right. Yeah, open Itsu for me is not my favorite. I understand there's a lot of situations where it's very good, but I think when it's super early on, it feels
Each.
the worst to me.
2 Tempais
Uh,
found in quick succession, Wenshin across the way, waiting 1-4 Mon. And then we see a Ricci on the left from Andrew trying to take over this game. Ricci, Non, Dora 1. Loads of.
Five
See.
eight pin,
There's the last
8 pin.
7. Christine calls it, and now Tempai. I'm
Sumo.
sorry, you're right. This 5-8 pin, but there's the Sumo on the 4 Mon. Wenshin taking it away. Everyone putting a good fight. Even Gaohan had managed to technically find Ishanten there, but
Mhm.
the positions are going to be finalized with that Subo. Wenshin takes plus 38.2 for the big first, and Gaohan negative 0.4 for having a second place but being below 30,000. Christine negative 12.2 in third, and Andrew negative 25.6 in fourth.
Yeah, Winshen making it out like a bandit. That Ura 3 Baimon coming in huge on the final results of this game. Gaohan, for a little bit there, actually managed to take over the lead, but unfortunately, Matsumo down, dealt in a couple times, and uh, will take a very, very small negative second.
We
But
will
in
get the
terms of,
standings updated. Wenshin up to third
Mhm.
place. We were just talking about this. at the start of the game. After that Baimon, there was a chance that this could happen. Of course, there still are some more games to be played here, but Wenchen with a very good standing after that first one, and I believe they will be playing another one tonight.
Right.
They haven't started it yet, so there will be 5-minute delay when that does happen. For the other three players, we have Christine, who ends up dropping a little bit and actually finds herself right next to Gaohan in the standings, 9th and 10th place.
Yeah, only around 5 points differential between them. Both of them still well within striking range of that promotion zone. So they still have plenty to play for in these next 3 games. And then Andrew, unfortunately, with that 4th place, does drop still at the top of the demotion zone, but farther away from making it out, making it above that cut line, is actually uh, zero point 0.3 points from the next person in the demotion zone, Daniel. And so we'll need to really uh, ratchet it up in these next few games to make it out.
Yeah, and Andrew got the 4th place there, but it wasn't like a bad fourth. There ended up being some big sumos from the other players that knocked him down in points. That made a very strong effort to come back in and just had 3rd place stolen away at the very end by Christine. One thing that really stands out to me in Andrew's statistics here is that 8.5% deal in. That is extremely good. For a lot of players, their goal is to be around 10% to 12%. 8.5 is very low, and so um,
Right.
it,
And I think
it's a testament to the
uh,
fact that he's been getting, like, in this game we saw him getting sumoed out of it, like the Baimon sumo and all the other big hands that were self drawn. He didn't deal in, but unfortunately wasn't able to match the pace.
right. And for sure. And I think we saw some flashes of Andrew uh, during that South 3 dealer turn, was slowly making his way back up into like 2nd place, was had a fair shot of actually finishing positive. And I think that having a good mentality and being able to pull that off in the next few games will be very uh, I mean, I wouldn't say likely, but I think there's a good chance that Andrew has the strength to pull through the next few games to get it out.
Absolutely, and we will see that game in a few minutes. They have started, so we're on 3 minutes of delay right now. And I do have to ask you, in for any of these players, I mean, the standings have changed slightly. Is the overall goal the same for them? Because Christine Galhan, we see are in about the same spot. Wenchen is very comfortably at plus 145. And Andrew, we also saw stayed in the 19th place. So it seems to me that their mentality moving into the next game, their strategy, isn't going to change that much. Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, I would say that the incentives are effectively the same because obviously for Christine and Gauhan, you're really looking to get one of those guaranteed promo spots. Um, I do think that given maybe after this game, their incentives may change a little bit, even if they're in the same spots, because of, potentially some trickle down promotion spots coming down to B2. And in order to get one of those unofficial promo spots, you do need to finish with a positive score. So, depending on how feasible it is to make it into the promo zone after this game, then they may change their incentives to, oh, maybe I just want to play a little bit safe and try to maintain score for these next games. But I think for this next game, we should still see them playing towards, just get points, try to rack it up, get a win.
All right. So we will have that game shortly. I'm just booting it up now, and I think the let's see here. Yeah, it is almost. Oh no. So I thought the positions were exactly the same. They were not. There's going to be a slight change. We will still have Galhan, first dealer, Wenchit on the right, but Christine and Andrew will be trading places. So Christine will be in the west seat, Andrew in the north seat to start us off in game number 2. And
Yes.
in case anybody has noticed, on the right side of the screen where we see the standings, Christine, Gaohan, Andrew all have 21 out of 24 games played. Wenchen sitting at 20 out of 24. That's because there is one more game from a Succession 5 series yet to be played. I assume they will be scheduling that one very soon. Get that one out of the way. But that's just one game, actually, with against the a table of people in the promotion zone. Eric, Wenchen, Stanley. It looks like Charlie as well. All or Damien, one of the two, all are sitting at that table. So a really tense one for that series.
Yeah, facing off against direct opponents in the standings. If it goes badly, someone could dominate the promo zone going into session 6.
But we are back into session six games. Gaohan starts us off. The high pie, kind of messy. We do have two good diamond shapes in the pin zoop, but they overlap on the 6-pin. However, that means that you can just draw 2 6-pin and have 2 Dora in hand. On the right, we have Wenchen with the Haku pair. Not a lot of value currently present in the hand. And so opening up for 1,000 points might not be something Wenchen wants to go for here. We'll see how he chooses to play this. Across the way, Christine has good shapes, even a chance at a 1, 2, 3 Sandraku. The penchant are awkward, but you have a door in hand, and so good opportunity for Ricci Penfu dropping one of those penchant, or even Ricci Sandraku Dora 1. Andrew on the left calls the north to open this out, and looks like it'll be a Chanta North play.
Right. Already Yishan 10 for this Chanta as well.
Quite
He
fast.
really wants that 7-pin.
7-pin twice in the wall here.
Yeah. And actually, this does have a chance of not getting Chanta. The weight is a bit wide. If you got the 7-pin, it would be the Entotsu weight waiting on 9-mon, 6-0, 9-0, and that 6-0 would be the most abundant tile in that weight. So you do have a good chance of not getting your Chanta.
Yeah, if Andrew wanted to hedge a little bit, could have held the 8-mon and tried for the 7-8-9 Sanchoku, but does end up getting the 9-mon Pon, and so we are Tempai on the 7-pin for the 2-han hand.
That's good, locking in that value. Dealer is actually also Yishan 10. Chance at Itsu. Needs the 3-pin. Or the 6-pin Dora draw. Takes the Dama, Itsu Dora, waiting on the 3-pin.
Well, this is a very sneaky Dama here. And Gaohan, one of the players with one of the lowest Ricci rates in B2, and perhaps the entire league, only 14%. I know Gaohan does like to Dama. We'll see if he chooses to Ricci out at some point. The value already, Itsudora is 7,700, so quite strong for Gaohan. Just gotta find the 3-pin. You're not expecting the 3-pin to come up against you if you take the Ricci here. Right. Oh, but the 7 is drawn first, and you just have to drop it.
Yeah.
Wrong.
You have too much value as dealer to not push that.
Yeah, Wenchen had, on the right, had been silently building a monster there with the Toy drawing the Haku himself. Will come out. It will be Andrew picking up the 2,000 points. Good start. After taking the 4th in the last game, we'll see if Andrew can pull out a 1st to make up for it.
Right. And starting us off, Wenchen as dealer, a very reasonable hand. I think the Chun pair, once you call it, gonna try to get a fast hand. Draws his Dora, maybe hoping to pair it up. On to our right, Christine, two pairs, one East Yakuhai pair, and a couple of Conchon and Penchon in the rest of the hand that make this hand a little bit harder to finish out. Across the way, ooh, Andrew, very interesting, has a Pei Anko and then a pair of the West. Can build this towards a Honitsu, but does have very strong Mon shape that makes that a bit harder. And with the 2-2-3 Mon, Chun comes out, dealer calls, and will start making their way towards Tenpai, 2 Shanten. And on our left, Galhan, also fairly reasonable shapes, can find himself with Ricci Pinfu
G.
Ipeco. And yeah, these shapes are super strong, could almost guaranteed to end on a good way with the way the hand is developing.
Pong.
Here's the east. Christine does call. Only readily apparent Yaku in the hand wants to keep the Dora penchant and cutting away from the 5-6 pin.
Yeah, planning to end up with a Chanta on top of things. So East
Gee.
Chanta, Dora 1. If she can get the 1 pin, does she pass the 5 or take it for
Gee.
Tenpai? Yeah, ends up taking it. So not Chanta, just 2,000
Eats.
points here. But we'll see a Ricci from Andrew, and this could be huge value if you find the Tsumo. But the weight is the 3-so Sha, 3-so being held, Sha being held. Quite awkward. Someone will have to deal in here in order for Andrew to win.
And it's basically going to come down to a war of nerves if see if Christine is willing to drop from the Shaw pair. But may
Speaking
just
of
push
nerves,
everything.
I mean, Wenchun had the choice of dropping Dora or dropping 5, so instead Dora was the safer route. Ended up being right.
Yeah. Ends up 10 point on 2-5 so, but hold that thought because Christine now also found an upgrade, paired up to Dora, now waiting on Shaw 9 so. That 9 so which passed earlier may come out again,
Sumo.
but
Sumo
doesn't have a
found.
chance.
Yeah, I think if anyone drew the 9, so it would indeed come out unless they got suspicious after that 8 so Tadashi. Instead, the wide way does win out for Wenchun, who will take the Ricci stick in addition to the 1500 point hand and move us into East to repeat 1. High Pie is so strong.
Yeah, and something we didn't point out with that last hand was that Christine dropping from the 5-6 pin and keeping the Dora penchant actually gave up Honitsu chances and Honitsu Itsu as well with 2-3-5-6 pin in the hand. Just not willing to drop that Dora.
Yeah, certainly Andrew had a lot of So tiles in the hand. Perhaps the discards were making it look like So was a scary suit to discard. And Christine almost got super rewarded for that play. Just happened to pair up the Dora 1 turn too late, I think. But our dealer here has a chance at Ricci Pinfu. And just needs to draw a connector around this 2 pin. Or the 5 mon for ideal weights. To the right, Christine, also okay shapes, has the ability to incorporate the Dora 5 pin into hand, maybe even build towards an Itsu in the Pinsu if that happens. Across the way, Andrew, awkward shapes. I don't see much promise in this hand, and so I will leave this to the wall to fix. Hopefully, by the time we see it next, we'll have some better tiles in it. Gaohan on the left, also looking strong here. Is this Dian Shan 10? It is. But there's a chance at Tanyao here, and another hand that if you draw well in the Pinsu, you could end up with Itsu.
Right. And here, that 7 so, it's pretty nice fill. You can end up on in Totsue. You can also just call for Tanyo now.
Of course, Gaohan will also be thinking about the chance at building towards 6-7-8 Sanchoku should a 7 mon be drawn, or even an 8 mon. Although there's only one of those left in the wall.
Oh, this door draw is quite nice. Very nice, wide weight. Dealer, Yishan 10, sitting with headless Anko shape.
Of course, when there's no pair confirmed in hand, we call it a headless weight here, and we're looking for... Honestly, we want the 4 pin as the best draw. Then we can discard one of our 9 so's and use the remaining 2 as the pair. Wenchun getting a little bit punished here for discarding the 8 mon instead of the 5 mon. Could have had Ipeco at this point, but
Right.
I imagine there's a good reason for doing so back when the decision was made.
Yeah, I think discarding that 8 mon earlier, maybe a bit of an autopilot move. 5 mon at that point, you could have seen as a Sakigiri, you could have
Pong.
maybe kept it around thinking maybe if I try really hard, I can discard all my 9 so and get Tanya.
Yeah, and some players like to widen out their shapes, have a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 instead of just a 6, 7, 8, 9. so that you have more chances at flipping an Ura when you take a
Mm.
Ricci. We do
Boom.
see a pawn
That's
into
also
Tempai from Christine. It is just going to be Tanya only waiting on 3-so or 4-so. There's one of each in the wall.
There's another
Ricci.
pawn into Tempai for Tanya Dora. 6 mon, 5 so, 8 so is the weight. And then dealer, following up by also finding Tempai, Ricci, Pinfu, Dora, waiting on 4-7 pin.
Christine did end up drawing a deal in tile of the 5-so, chose to switch the weight out with a safe 3-so, and now discards another one. So I swapped from a 3-4-so weight to a 4-5-so weight, but this is a bad tile for Gaohan. Does switch out, and instead the 4-so will come out. Christine stealing away another hand.
Wow, that is not how you expect that to happen. You Mawashi a little bit, and then you instantly get rewarded.
Yeah, it's not a lot of value, but it does put Christine into first place and prevents a pretty major win from Wenchen there. And it will be Christine, our dealer, now in East 3. The high pie is one that I would be pretty happy with if I was the dealer here. Good shapes in the Manzu and the Pinzu, and you have a chance to incorporate the Dora 6-pin to hand if it does get drawn. Another good draw, looking at a Pinfu here. To the right, Andrew with Tanya tiles. We might see the discard of this 8-9 pin shape eventually. And a chance to Peiko in the middle, Sozu. Across the way, Gaohan has a chance to Itsu in the Sozu. And floaters in the other suits. We'll see what gets drawn around there. On the left, Wenchen has the ability to call the Chun. Perhaps even let one pass when Gaohan discarded it on his second discard. But there is a door in hand. And with a tight score line, you don't feel too sad about winning 2,000 points.
Right, this game looking to be very scrappy, so any win is worth a lot. Now that we've gone to East 3 and scores that have still not been blown apart yet.
Of course, if you can be the player to take the big Mangan, you certainly set yourself up in a very good position. Oh, but
And
Christine...
dealer here, building up to something that could be worth a lot. Has the Peiko chance now with that 7 mon. Needs to fill in the 7 mon. And Tanya, Dora, a lot of good opportunities here.
This 9-mon draw is so sad. I think I'm willing to drop the Chun unless I noticed some hesitation earlier. Just to sort of hedge the ability to turn this back into Tanya. But it is an Ishanten here. And now it's a good Ishanten with Pinfu in sight. So definitely a very good opportunity for Christine.
Right. And if you were in keeping the tune, like you may think it's a
Home.
good save tile, but 9 mon is also not that bad if you wanted some safety.
Oh, Tempai.
Ricci.
Ricci,
Nice.
Pinfu,
Each.
Dora. But we're going to see an immediate chase from Andrew. On the 3 or 6 comes out. So it'll be a wait on the 4-7 so. For Ricci, Pinfu, Tanyao.
Possibly Peiko.
Yeah, possibly Peiko. Those are two very big hands.
And the Peiko out is actually Genbutsu to the dealer's Ricci, so a bit of a sneaky wait.
3 tiles in the wall for Andrew's weight. And how's the 2-5 looking? Looks like there are 4. So dealer has 4 versus 3 for Andrew. See how the wall favors. Dealer is favored here. Christine will take it up. 3 Han plus no Ura, so 5,800 points as a result of being the dealer. It has a very nice hit, and Christine now extends into a slightly larger lead and repeats in East 3.
Statistics wins again.
Yeah, even 4 is better than 3, in theory.
In theory.
We're getting some more empirical evidence that that is indeed true. Well,
4
Christine...
is better than 3, except when it's a pay weight, apparently.
Exactly. Pay Tonki, best Tonki, as they say. But Christine, with 3 pairs this time around, and a Dora, I don't like to prematurely call this Cheetoy, but if you start to pair up more tiles, you can move in that direction. Of course, Christine, as dealer, will be playing as efficiently as possible. Maybe even just turn this into Tanya in the future. And now there's the Peiko chance in the lower Pinzu. To the right, Andrew making moves, calls the Hatsu, sees the plan in the Sozu, Looks like it'll be a Honitsu attempt here. And there's a South Yakuhai as well. It is the door suit, so it could be Mangan or even Hanuman if another door is drawn. Across the way, Gaohan looking to fill the 2 Sodora in that 1-3 shape. Not bad shapes in the other hands, or rather in the other suits. In fact, this is Ishanten with 6, 7, 8 Sanchoku chance. And then Wenchen on the left does draw a Dora,
Boom.
and it's going to be really difficult to use that. Might stymie the progression of that hand a bit.
Right. May have to preemptively discard the Dora. Um, just hoping to, if the hand doesn't develop along with it.
And
But,
doing that
oh, sorry,
feels
go ahead.
worse and worse as the Honitsu player makes more and more calls.
Right. Honestly, if Andrew gets the south call, then you may just have to give up on the hand entirely because it feels really bad to toss the Dora Tuso into 3-call Honitsu.
Christine? Oh, well, hold that thought. Gaohan Tenpai did not get the Sanchoku that he was looking for. The last 8 so instead goes to Christine, who is also Ishanten technically. Andrew also filling a 1 so draw, so now Ishanten there.
Right. Chooses to discard 7 so
Oh,
and keep the Chun.
this is so awkward. Christine's Tenpai, but doesn't want to drop the Dora. Would be on a 5-8 wait where all the 8s are gone. So instead chooses to drop out the 7 so, which Andrew also cleared, and is hoping to draw back into Tenpai a different way, in a manner that doesn't involve discarding Dora.
Yeah, and that 7 so discard coming out looks really suspicious. Looks a lot like the Honitsu has been finished, you're overflowing, getting rid of your extra bamboo tiles. So that 2 so looking extra suspicious now against Andrew.
And
who,
even if you don't believe that it's Tenpai, do you really want to drop the Dora, which will almost certainly get called into Tenpai? It definitely has a very bad feeling to it.
right.
Each.
But Gaohan, Karagiri Richi switches out the 8-mon in hand for the 8-mon just true. Richi's on it. Now waiting on the 2 so.
Got
Only a
tired of
few
waiting.
draws left. Andrew still pushing with his Ishanten, despite having to save Chun.
Yeah, save tiles are
Discards
there
the
for these types of moments when you have a Ricci and you want to get one through. Of course, in that Ishanten, drawing a Chun would have been Tenpai as well, and instead gets the 3 so though. I think that was the final 3 so. Andrew does end up finding the Tenpai at the very end, and will sneak in a pickup of 1,500 points, in addition to Gaohan, of course. Oh my goodness, we see some incredible hands here.
Yeah, already
We could see a double
dealer
reach.
hand.
We could see a double reach on the right.
Oh, okay. Dealer has pretty average hand.
It's
Maybe
there!
something Rigi paper.
Let's go! It's a
Alright,
4-5
double
pin wait
Ricci.
or an 8 so Tonki. But I think you
Yeet.
take the 4-5. Double
Take the wider
Ricci,
weight for
non,
sure.
Ipeco. What in the world?
Double Rigi Nani Peiko. 2-sided wave, 4-5 pin.
There
Oh,
are 4 left in the wall?
yep, 4 left in this wave
Oh,
on double Ricci.
I felt like it was going to be Ipatsumo after this. I mean, I was going to... Before we switched perspective, I was looking at Christine's hand thinking, oh man, that's a great shot for, Honitsu, Yakuhai, but instead, it's Gaohan. Double reach Sumo Ipeco Nan. Ura, show us
do it to
Uratsu.
him.
Might as
Oh!
well. Hanuman and Gaohan snatches away first place. Well, sometimes you just construct these gorgeous hands. You put together, your best effort in building monsters, and sometimes you just double reach with Ipeco and
Yeah.
Nan built in. And
Yeah,
Gaohan
and
will happily
luckily-
take that one.
Yeah, luckily for Gaohan, took the double Ricci. Was actually Swanko Yishanten. Could have greeted for that. But, yeah, sometimes Wall has favorites. Game plays itself. GG, shake my hand, skill issue. All of the above,
Yeah, we might see another one of these hands. I mean, Gaohan already Ishanten for Honitsu, Dora 2 with a Yakuhai.
Otsu. Yeah. This is a little bit gross.
This is very scary when if you're one of these other players and if you could see these high pie, but fortunately perhaps for the other players, Hatsu not so easily called. Andrew has a pair on the left as
Home.
well as a pair of the North Wind. Might even be attempting a 7 pairs or something along those lines.
Right. And this may slow down Gaohan's hand enough. However, can actually call in a variety of ways into Tenpai for the can even just go for Chinitsu now, right?
At this
Like
point, yeah.
uh super wide weight or super wide acceptance, as is usually the case with these flush hands.
Yeah, most draws put you Tempai. I'm trying to think if there's a good draw that would convince me to discard the Hatsu here.
Oh no, 5 pin?
How do you feel about this 3-pin?
3 pin. Well,
Discarding the 9
go.
here hedges Ipeko, perhaps. It actually was 5 pairs, so there's a chance that Menhon Chitoi, but ended up discarding the 9-pin instead. Gaohan just wants to make sure no matter what happens that he doesn't have to drop the Dora for Tenpai.
Right. Interesting. Could have also just gone Hatsu Hatsu there, I think, because he just uber wide weight for the flush.
Of course, we have Christine open on the tune with the door in hand.
Here's 4 pin for Tenpai.
Yeah,
Takes the Dama.
not surprised to see a
5
Dama
pin.
here. That does feel like a very Gaohan play.
Yep. Menhon. So close to fitting an Itsu as well, but unfortunately it's just going to be Menhon Dora 2. I say
Yeah,
unfortunately, but
that's 12,000 points
this is
already, and on Sumo would even be 18,000.
right.
Oh no, Christine drew the wrong tile, and surprise, Gaohan has it all. 12,000 points.
Surprise! Closed half flush.
Yeah, Dama. Nothing you can do about it. I mean, Christine had a good hand, well, a hand of her own that to shut down the dealership, Ishanten, and you're just not expecting your hand to be Tenpai. You know, I guess it wasn't that quick. It was the middle of the second row, but you expect to see a Ricci, and that just didn't come out.
Right. And in a league format where Ricci is even more incentivized, or Akanashi especially, where it's hard to build value, you don't expect to deal into huge Damas all the time.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, while players' favorites, dealer just happened to have uh 2 Dora and all the Yaku in the world.
And
And
well,
with this hype high, also just gonna keep riding this wave of momentum. 2 Shanten from Breachy Pinfu can even fit Ipeko. Maybe work it around to a Sanchoku in 678 or 789.
you know, oh, so many of these middle pairs. I think 8mon is absolutely correct here. We could see an ideal 7-so draw and just Ricci there. Or your 9-pin's pretty good too.
Yeah.
Another Dama.
Dama again. Doesn't trust a. Is there a good upgrade path here?
Not
Not
really for
really.
value. You can draw a
It's just like, does
6-pin.
it.
Oh, well,
Okay.
okay. Now there's another upgrade path if you draw 6-mon.
Right. Now you get your Tanya.
Oh,
But.
I tried.
Uh,
Couldn't will that one into existence. Yeah,
Home.
8-pin being held, so not likely that any of these
Home.
players will deal into Takame. We do have a pawn into Tenpai from Wenshin on the right, waiting on 7-pin, 8-pin. Those tiles are all being held, and really, Christine is the only one in real danger here if she chooses to discard this 8-9 Penchun. But for the time being, holding on to it. And also,
Wow.
if she works her way to 3-4-5 Sanchoku, the 5-pin could also come out.
Decision for Andrew on the left. Could choose between 2-mon, 6-0, double pair weight, but decides to discard the 2-mon, waiting on the Dora 3-mon for Chun Dora. Oh, but we'll deal into Dama, Pinfu.
Yeah, this one feels less bad to deal into. Pinfu only.
Honestly, not Dama Pinfu, probably one of my least favorite hands.
Yeah,
There
there
are
are
situations where it's okay.
exactly. I was gonna say I had a game not too long ago where I felt like I should dama my Pinfu because there weren't really any value upgrade paths, and Dora was not visible, and Dora was also super easily usable, and I wasn't dealer. Like, all these things were saying, maybe you should just dama your Pinfu, just win the hand, get this over with, shift things forward. I took the Ricci instead and got chased down by dealer with 2 Dora. That was a painful deal, and
Yeah,
alright.
but maybe Gaohan just saw something we couldn't. Maybe felt really bad about that 5-8 pin weight,
Mm. And we
and
saw a
then
lot of those tiles were being held. All the 8s were
right, yeah,
gone, at least 1-5 was out. But still holds on
but
to the dealership here. Do you believe in
yeah, even
Sanchoku?
now, I do believe in Sanchoku, but I guess Gaohan doesn't.
Throws it out in favor of holding the efficient 1-3-5 Mon shape. To the right, Wenchen has the ability to use the Dora 6 Mon, and in fact is Ishanten here. Could even call Haku for Tempai. And Wenchen probably
Right.
not terribly upset to finish this game in second place, even if it's a negative second. Just move things closer to being able to promote. Across the way, Christine, looking to build a big hand here, has 2 Dora, but the other shapes aren't very strong, and so really hoping to fill out some of these Penchan or Kanchan shapes. Andrew on the left has better shapes, but only 1 Dora. Still could be Ricci, Tanya, maybe even Pinfu as well
G.
for the Dora.
Right. Dealer here moving
Home.
up to 4 pairs, but hold that thought because Wenchen calls in the Tenpai, gets the Haku call, now waiting on 3-6 Mon, which is 2 left in the wall.
Now, of course, we're not expecting the 6 Mon to be discarded by anyone unless they're forced to.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
why do I
Well,
open my mouth? I'm sorry, Andrew. I jinxed you. This is my fault entirely. You can blame me later after the game. But it will be Takame then, 2,000 points for Wenchen, plus the Honba as well. And that means that we should be shifting into South too. This dealer Hypai is okay. I mean, you've got 1 completed shape and it's right next to Dora, but 1-2 Mon, not very good. 4-6, also pretty bad. 1-3 pin, quite unfortunate. That's a nice fill though, and if with draws like these, when she can make some progress towards a Ricci. To the right, Christine, better shapes. Several pairs in fact. Could just be a Tanyao, but I know she's going to be looking for more. Aiming to Ricci on top of everything. All for the 6-pin drawn by Andrew and lots of pairs. I am very curious to see what's going to happen in that hand. Ideally, you just draw 7-so, 7-so, and make an Ipeko with 2 Dora. But of course, that means you have to draw 2 Dora. Another pair,
Yeah.
though.
Kang.
Oh, and it chooses to Khan. This is exciting.
Khan.
So we're not doing Chitoi here. Maybe a
It's
Toy Toy.
Suwanko or nothing, bros. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, Suwanko, we've seen that's the Yakuman to get lately. We'll see if that can happen for Andrew.
8-pin. Oh! 8-pin dead.
Ishanten. 8
8-pin
Mon.
dead. Where's the 8 Mon?
Oh, we just saw one get drawn. And probably
One
we
more
could
in the
discard it
wall.
here. Do you just take the Toy Toy? I think you can wait.
You can wait.
Yeah, Andrew's greeting for it. 9-so. There's
Let's go.
one left. Oh no, but Christine gets the Ricci. We'll be on 6-pin, 9-pin. All the 6 pins are
this is
in the con.
We actually missed this. Red Zone and chat pointed out that this is also a chance at 8 Doko.
Oh, you're
for
right.
Andrew.
I mean, you called the 8 pins to be held, but if Wenshin, for whatever reason, chooses to drop his, we could see the Doko. Tempai for Gaohan. Dama.
Another Dama.
Oh, Swallow Tempai, but it's gonna deal
Each.
it!
But this 6-0, no!
No!
Wrong.
And there's the Tanya with Dora too, because of the con. Oh, that's tragic for Andrew. You get that Tempai and you think, I've got a chance to make up all the points and more.
Oh, what is this? Hypai, no!
We're gonna switch perspective and then take a look. You start counting. I'm gonna look at dealer's hand. Tanya out with Dora. Chance for Christine on the right.
Home.
Andrew working towards an Itsu in the Sozu, maybe Pinfu. Across the way, Gaohan calls the south, moving towards South Dora 1. And how many does Silent Rain have?
10.
10 with a pair?
10 in a pair.
10
in a
plus
pair.
1. Oh my. Make that 11. Are we going to see
Okay.
Kokshi?
Ishan 10, I guess.
Shot 10 with only 3 cuts.
Alright.
What are we missing? 1 Mon and 2 honors. Hatsu and... What's the other one?
Hatsu and then 1 Mon. And then,
Oh, you're right.
yeah.
Ishanten. Hatsu 1 Mon.
And, Barely Live, 2 Hatsu in the wall, 3 1 Mon.
Andrew discards his Hatsu, so perhaps saved. Gaohan, though, still holding on. It's a quote-unquote safe tile. Might not be so safe, depending on how quickly Wenshin can get to Tenpai. In the meantime,
Oh, but this is Christine, Suanku, 2 Shanten.
We've got Kokshi Shanten, Suanko Dian Shanten. Everyone else just putting together what best they can. Oh, Hatsu pair! That shuts this down. That means Gaohan's going for Honitsu. So that means Wenshin needs the last Hatsu.
Yeah. It would be so funny if Hatsu is the last wave and then it gets double wronged.
Yeah, and the first one that shows up will be Gaohan's. Honitsu, double Yakai, Mangan, you're feeling sad, and then the other one, you hear the gong.
Yeah, but Christine, feeling suspicious, calls for the Tanya Tenpai. 2 Mon 2 Pin is the wait.
Hoping to just shut things down here, not even waiting for Toy Toy. And yeah, Tanya Dora
Tanya
one's
Dora.
not bad result.
Yeah.
There's only 1 2-pin left in the wall for this wait, though.
Yeah.
If anyone draws it, it will come out, though.
This 8 Mon here could be called. Skipped. There's a 1, so 8 Mon, 8 Mon.
Gaohan sensing something. Maybe, I'm sure Gaohan has realized that this could be Kokshi, and maybe worried about this Chun.
Right. I mean, that East pair
Gee.
probably never gonna come out. Oh, here's Senpai for Yakulus, unfortunately.
Yeah, Andrew not willing to drop the East here.
Playing for K10. But really sad. You have 2 Dora in this hand. You kind of wish you could bank them in.
We'll
But
see
we'll
if
continue to push.
Gaohan folds into a deal in here. 2 Mon is Suji, but very few lower Mon tiles have been discarded, so it's not necessarily... Oh, I guess the 3-pin has been called. So you start...
Right.
There's a decent chance that it might come out if Gaohan can't find anything safe to discard.
Home.
Matsu came out.
リーチ
Oh!
Ricci!
Oh, Ricci! Ricci, and there's still 2 1 Mon in the wall.
No way! Drew the last Hatsu? And
Who the last Hatsu?
they do say you have to reach your big hands. Oh!
Oh!
Satsukomi! Wenshin!
Takikomi!
Now going to allow another draw. Gaohan deals in intentionally to prevent what could have been a Yakuman. That's genius play from first place. I
Play of
applaud
the
you,
year.
Gaohan. That is incredible.
Play of the year, baby!
Let's go. And Andrew, Wenshin, of course, is going to be rabbit hunting that wall. What was my next draw? Was it the 1 Mon? But Wenshin has enough points to go around, not enough points to promote into second place. We will absolutely be checking the wall to see where that 1 Mon is. But big props to Gaohan for that incredible play. And I switched
Beautiful.
perspective, but we shouldn't. That's still Christine's dealership. So let's stay right here, and this is a pretty awesome hand. You have the Tone
Oh,
Anko, the Chun Anko as well, already set to go. The other shape's not good, but you can call for whatever you're missing.
I'll be the first to say it. Tenho has not been shuffling these walls very well. I'm gonna be real.
Dealer does seem to have gotten some good ones lately. It feels like, where's my turn? When will I get this high pie? Well, Andrew will have a turn next. Everyone else has lost their chance.
Yep.
On the left, we have Ishan 10 for Wenchen. Oh, make that 10
Reach.
pie. That's a good weight as well. 5,
Oh.
8, so.
Kind of wish you had the 6-mon.
Oh, yeah, Sanchoku chance would be great here. But you don't need everything. This win will be enough, I believe, to put Wenchen over.
Sumo.
Well, after the Ipatsumo, it sure will. Reach Ipatsumo, Dora 1, and only one Ura. At this rate, I was expecting like Ura-san. But we will have a Mangan for Wenchen, who just continues applying pressure to the rest of the table, and will be enough to move him into second place.
홈,
Andrew, as dealer, now has the east call, and will just be attempting to repeat his dealer. Not a lot of value here. The door, well, with the Dora being the west and none in hand.
Right.
Oh, but south pair, that could make things
Okay.
interesting. Do you move towards Honitsu here?
Honitsu may be a little bit greedy. Depends a lot on draws. Especially since you would have to drop away from this good two-sided 7-8
Right.
weight in the Mon tiles.
Maybe you drop the 8 here. If you're trying to be greedy, you can hedge Toy Toy and Honitsu at the same time.
Right.
But dropping one of these Yakuhai honors is still the more efficient play.
Yeah, fairly normal. Or right. Pretty meta shapes. Couple of good two-sided weights going on.
Oh,
Oh, Andrew skipped the
Home.
9-mon value and was rewarded
Home.
with that 5-so fill-in. Now has Tenpai for 2-so non. One south still left in the wall. One
decision.
2-so left in the wall.
Yeah, decision for Christine. Take the Ishan 10 or greed Honitsu, and Christine is going for points.
Yep. Wants Mangan here is not enough to make it back above 30k, but does want to minimize the impact of his third place as much as possible.
Yeah, plus 8 to your score is certainly a big goal for you.
Mhm.
Oh, but the south.
Oh,
We'll hold on to it because, it helps your Honitsu out. And at some
right.
point you might be concerned, but if the hand progresses in standard ways, it will have to come out.
Here's a 7-so. Could see a switch, but doesn't.
Could
Likes
pull
the
for
shadow.
Toy Toy.
Ooh.
That's a way to make a Hanemon, but Christine does let it pass.
Right.
Oh,
Which, but it would have been furry 10 on the 7,
Yeah.
so to switch his 3-sided.
and let's face it, Andrew wants the South anyway. We don't want to just win 1,500 points.
Right. Oh, 3-so draw,
Boom.
South comes out. Andrew gets to repeat and the Takame, 2,900. And move to repeat 1.
Somewhat importantly as well, that was a direct hit on Christine, so Andrew's path to getting out of 4th place here is much more achievable here in repeat 1. The high pie
Right.
is okay. There's a Dora, which is always posted some question marks when you have Dragon Dora. When you're in last place, though, you tend to greed a little bit and hold on to it longer than you do otherwise. But if the hand starts to shape out in normal ways, you might just cut it early to prevent other players from being able to call it.
Yep.
We can
For Ray
see.
Gohan.
Yeah, we can see though it's gonna get called.
Right. Wenchen, not satisfied, takes the Dora Haku pawn as a Mangon showing now, and is quickly moving towards Tenpai.
Oh yeah, pair draw. Do you cut? I think it just cut 7, 9 mon, but no, it goes with a 1-3. Wants to keep floaters in both suits. If you do cut, say 9 and then 7, you might not be able to use a mon tile for the rest of the game, and perhaps this is the reward. Now you have a Yankan in the Monzu instead of just a Kanchan.
Right.
G.
And keeping that 1-1-2-3-3 so shape, if it was closed, nice Peiko, but open becomes more of a double con or double pawn shape.
Right.
Very
If you keep the
callable.
1-1-2-3-3, you're really just hoping to be able to pull an improvement potentially in the future.
But mine's Tenpai now, waiting on 6 mon, hoping Could potentially get a Nakasuji trap, throw a 3-mon down, make that 6-mon look really safe.
Christine
Or even
finding
just draw upgrades.
Tempai as well, but it would just be Richinomi, and she probably wants to draw the north before doing so, before taking the Richi.
Yep, unfortunately would have won on that 9-mon drop just now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little difficult because if you take the Richi, you're defenseless against the Mangan, and dealing into Wenchen would be enough to drop you to 4th place. So it's certainly understandable to
Right.
not want to take a Richi here and even just bail out.
Right, and we see that West discard seems to be erring on the side of caution. You see 3-9-mon have come out. Maybe you feel like your 7-8 weight is getting weaker and weaker, so maybe worth it to just Mawashi or bow out of this hand.
Yeah,
But
leaning
Andrew,
leaning towards folding here, but Andrew is not. This is Ishanten.
still Ishanten.
Would be Tempai if the 9-mon had been retained, but I think it made a lot of sense to discard it at the time.
8
Right. Ooh, yeah. If you had kept the 9-mon, you could be Tenpai for
Itsu.
Itsu.
8
Oh, but finds Tempai a different way. So this is going to be Richinomi, waiting on 3/6 pin.
Ooh.
8
Oh. And I chiming in on the chat, letting us know that for the Kokashi, both 1-mon were at the end of the live wall.
Oh, we'll have to take a look at that. We do have a Tempai for Gaohan after 2 calls, and there is double south there, but 6-mon not willing to push that against the Richi, and so we'll bow out with the South Onko discard.
Right.
And
And there's really no reason to risk your points here. Last place dealer. You
Sumo.
got a nice gap between you, so.
yeah, so
Oh,
really
Andrew.
everyone giving up. Oh!
Oh!
And that allows Urasan for Andrew to come into 1st place. Even the Dora 3 hand across the way also bowed out, gave away the Tempai. And that means Andrew now has a fighting chance at 2nd place even.
Right. And tragedy for Christine, now in 4th place, needs Mangan Director.
And Magan Sumo will work.
Mangan Sumo is enough, right? So it still has a chance to get out of 4th, but not your, not what you were hoping to see.
This is somewhat amusing. Dora is the South, and we see pairs of South winds discarded by 2 players. No faith in Dora.
No
Even
faith.
so, we have
Wow.
a very
Dealer Ishanten.
yeah.
And this is Chitwa Ishanten. But this is prime Ryanpeiko real estate.
It is. Draw 4 pin or 7 pin. You're really thinking about the chance that you have Peiko here.
It's a very good looking Ryanpeiko as well. 4, 5.
8
Oh, but you have to take the Richi.
6-mon. Oh, it's Hellweight 9-mon though. But since you've hit the button, I think you have to do it.
It's Hellweight Suji traps. What more can you ask for, right? And it doesn't even look like Chito. You discard an entire row of
Honors.
good weights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only thing that the 9-mon deals into is Tonki here. The players, when they draw it, this is what they'll think. The only thing this deals into is Tonki. It's a very safe cut. It will come
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, no way this deals in, and it deals in. And then you feel sad for a little bit.
We do have another Tempai at the table, though. Across the way on the 5-8. Just
No.
switched to it from the 3-mon to the 5-8. And that will snatch it away. Pinfu Tanyao. No Richi. That means that Andrew will be claiming 3rd place here with the huge Uda 3 Mangan. Gaohan, though, big 1st place, plus 37.5. Wenchen, plus 9.9 in 2nd place. Andrew takes the negative 16.1 and Christine negative 31.3. And that is the 2 games for this group completed. We'll check standings one more time for this group once those get updated. And here we go. Wenchen continues to climb up to 155 now, still comfortably in the promotion zone. Gaohan claims the bottommost promotion slot at plus 106.3. Still, all the players around him have games in hand, so they will be able to catch up, perhaps overtake. Christine drops down a little bit in this series, down to 42.0, but it's still a positive score. And again, remember, for C1, B3, B2, even B1, it's important that you, at the very least, stay positive. There's always a slim chance that you might get some extra promotion slots depending on if they trickle down from the upper leagues. And I do believe there are some other games around the league that are happening. In fact, more B2 action is going on as we speak. I see a table, Ryan, Andrew, Sichuan, and Stanley going on right now. I see some of those names up at the top of the standings, right in between Wenchen and Gaohan. So we will go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we will have continuation of more B2 Mahjong. See you in a bit. All right, welcome back, everybody. It looks like the B2 matchup is almost finished. They are, I think, approaching South 4, and we've missed almost the entirety of the game. So we'll wait for their second one. But in the meantime, we did want to look back at that potential Yakuman. I know it was a brilliant deal in from our toyman here, but I did want to see where these tiles were. Now, we saw the perspective of Christine, our current dealer, and on the left was Wenchen. building this Kokushi, had a great start for it, but it took a little bit while to find Tenpai, and things got really difficult when the third Hatsu got paired up across the way in Gaohan's hand. However,
Right. And now Wenchen drawing to the last Hatsu in the wall
Chi.
and two Wenmons, I believe.
yeah, Wenmon had been discarded twice at that point. Dealer had found Tenpai, and at this point, Gaohan across the way had been just folding out, not willing to potentially deal into the Yakuman, and the two open hands.
Yeah. And despite all of this, Wenchen is still
Boom.
pushing, even on the last row here, not scared of the dealer at all, and is rewarded for his efforts, gets the last Hatsu. Now here's the interesting decision.
リー
Decides
チ
to Richi.
Very unusual
And
to see a Richi on a Yakuman. It is Suji trapped, and if you believe the other players aren't thinking about Kokushi, that might incentivize the Wenmon to come out. And there also could have just been some incentive to try to scare players off their hands. If you believe dealers Tenpai, if they draw any terminal or honor that's not the White Dragon or the West Wind that's been cut already, they have to think twice about discarding it. So maybe that they had that idea in mind. As it is, we saw Christine push. We saw the East come out.
which is very, very optimistic. East being a live tile here against what is, you know, two honor discards, Kokushi discard pool.
Right, and perhaps the thought was, with the West being the first cut, you've disguised the fact that it's Kokushi. Maybe players think it's Chitoi instead, which
Right.
sometimes can get discards that look funky. And if it's Chitoi, there's no way you're waiting on the Hellweight one mon. So that could have also been a thought.
Right. But then Gaohan with the heroic Sashikomi throws the Tumon, Genbutsu to the Yakuman Richi, but deals into dealers Tanya Dora, and saves everyone at the table a lot of pain.
And the question we had was, with 9 draws remaining, was there a chance that Wenchen would have been able to sumo? So I do want to take a look at the wall. We have two
Oh.
Wenmons back to back in the wall. In fact, let's take a look from Wenchen's perspective. They were not going to be drawn without any calls. And the question would have been, let's see, it looks like Christine draws one of them. Will she maintain her Tenpai, or will she fold on the Wenmon? And then the other one goes to Gaohan, who almost certainly would have held it, given that he had chosen to fold very carefully at this endpoint. So the critical question would have been, Christine, do we hold this Wenmon or not? And there would have been a lot of incentive to push it with her goals of making it into the promotion zone, and this being her last dealership in Tenpai, and all those things considered. But Gaohan, of
Right.
course, doesn't want to even allow a win to happen, even if it isn't a deal-in, because that means Gaohan has a chance of not even getting first place here, which would really hurt his chances at making it into the promotion zone. So the 2-mon deal-in here was actually a totally acceptable outcome, given the number of points he'd already accumulated over the course of this game.
Right. And Yakuman Sumo here is actually probably the worst thing to happen.
Yes.
A 48,000 points, or not 48,000, a 40,000 point swing. Definitely not in your favor.
And so in the end, crisis averted for the other players at the table. A bit tragic for Wenchen, but he's been having a great day in these games and in the standings overall, looking quite good for the promotion.
Right. And, you know, the question really is, if Wenchen had chosen to not Richi, stay Dama with the Tenpai, then would the Wanmon have come out more easily? And I think the answer is probably yeah. I think Christine may have chosen to just push the Wanmon and maintain the Tenpai if the Richi was not declared. Because, you know, it doesn't really look that dangerous if, or it looks slightly less dangerous if without the Richi.
Yes. There was a chance that even if the Ricci had not happened, the Tumon might have come out anyway because it was once cut. There's a pawn of 3 mon already. It's Suji to the 5 mon. It might have just been the next cut that Gaohan was going to make, but Tuso is also Suji in once cut, and 7-so passed not too long ago. If Christine wanted that tile, she probably would have called it already. And so there were some other choices for Gaohan to make. I think because the reach came out, that really heavily incentivized the Tumon to be the play.
Right, because of its Genbutsu status.
Yeah, I mean 7-so also Genbutsu, but 7-so does look scarier against Christine to the right.
Yeah. Well,
That was one of the most exciting moments of the game. There were a ton of them. Some of those high pie were insane. I remember, I think it's
yeah,
this one.
part of the way that Gaohan built up that huge lead is with this hand, the Suwanko Ishanten double Ricci.
Yeah, this is insane. I mean, we can check and see if Suwanko was going to happen here.
リーチ
Ricci was taken, and Sim was found on the 4-pin, but was there Suwanko possible? Looks like we're drawing 7-pin, North, 9-pin, Sha, 1-so,
What if
and then Sumo on the 2-so on the next draw. So maybe taking the double reach was not the play. Of all things, it's that assumes that the call order or calls did not change the draw order. We can see there's a chute in the wall. There's very good likelihood that whoever Sisan is would have called the tune and changed the draw order. But we can dream. If no calls were made, there was Suanko here as well.
Yeah, and this is actually like the only possible way to have won a Suwanko, because the other two so 3-sos are dead, and then 2-so is actually dead walled. It's the Ura indicator.
Wow. And good
Sumo.
thing it was the Uda indicator, as after the Sumo came into play, flipped Uda 2 for the Hanemon, and started off what ended up being an incredible win for Gaohan.
Just draw better tiles. Just get better high pie. Mahjong is an easy game when the wall plays it for you.
Yeah. And that's the thing about the league sort of style of play. Sometimes you're going to get those games where you have good hands and things seem to go your way. You need to make sure that you play well in those hands and actually, take your wins. But you're just as likely to get games where someone else seems to be favored and they're getting the big sumos and you're in a scrappy fight with 3 other players to avoid fourth. And I feel like those are the games that are almost more important than the big wins. Of course, you do need to have some big wins in order to finish at the very top of the standings. But I think what differentiates a lot of the rest of the standings is, how you handle the games where you're not favored. Do you manage to avoid dealing into big hands in situations where maybe playing a little bit loose would cause you to deal in? And that ends up being the deciding factor between players promoting and not promoting, or demoting and avoiding the demotion zone.
Right. And I think Mahjong, a lot of the time, even more so than can you win a lot of points, it's a game about can you lose the least amount of points possible.
Yeah. Can you prevent other players from, can you make sacrifices to prevent other players from getting the big wins if you notice that's
Right.
happening? And that's why,
Uh,
Mahjong as a, solo standalone game, one game, anybody has a chance. Anybody could win, anybody could lose. But over the course of a longer season, that's where you get to see some separations. And of course,
right.
even over the course of 10 games, 20 games, you might not have the optimal fortune. Sometimes you just have a bad streak. And that's why it's really nice that in this league, there are so many opportunities to promote. And the turnover is very quickly. We have 4 seasons in a year, so you have 4 chances to reclaim your spots, and and continue to climb in the overall divisions. I'm seeing that the B2 game did start, so we are on a 5-minute timer.
Yes. And the results of that game, Sichuan took home plus 20.9 in first place. Andrew F. Coming in second with plus 6.1. Stanley minus 8.9 in third, and Ryan rounding out the back with a minus 19.1. I can see, looking at this game log, one of the highlights was Ryan getting a Sumo Baimon in
Oof.
East 2, Ricci Sumo Pinfu, Dora 3, Ura 3,
Oh my.
yet another Pinfu hitting Dora 3 somehow. Uh,
Yeah, keep in mind, Pinfu
but
is supposed to be sequences and one pair, a very flat hand, and yet
yeah,
finding Ura-san is pretty rare.
right. Well, uh, while we wait for the delay to catch back up, we can look at the standings for B2 here. After that game, Sichuan still maintains first place, only adding to the lead here. Plus 234.3, really rinsing the league this season.
Yeah,
Uh,
it looks like these standings don't want to update the scores of that game for some reason, but
mhm, yeah, but still fun to look at nevertheless. Uh, I think, uh, sort of notably, the EV for this league in particular has been a pretty strong predictor for placement. We see Sichuan at the top, insane plus 1000 EV, and then slowly going down. You see 812, 830, 701, 614. Gaohan with the 821, a little bit out of place, but we can see an upward trajectory from the most recent games, so may end up higher. And then as we go towards the bottom, we see lower EVs, 422, 424, 312. And it sort of really speaks to how, not dealing in and also winning a good amount, you know, uh, very, very intuitive, very
mhm.
obvious, a little bit stupid when you say it out loud, but winning a good amount of points and minimizing how much you deal in, resulting in good EV is how you end up getting good placements. That does involve being willing to push your good hands and being willing to fold out on hands that are a little bit weaker.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like I said, it's very intuitive. But it's nice to see the numbers reflect that as well. And for some of these players, they do it in slightly different ways. Some players have a very low deal-in percentage. Like at the top, we see Sichuan, Eric, Wenchen, all around the 10% mark, which again is very good for a deal-in percentage. Some players have a slightly higher deal-in percentage, like Gaohan, 13%, Ryan 15%, Stanley 13%. However, their averages are very low. For Ryan and Gaohan, 3,800 average deal-in is extremely low, and so it's not necessarily just avoiding deal-ins, just making sure that when you do deal in, it's against cheaper hands, and a big part of that is picking the spots that you're willing to fight. If you've got all the value in your hand, you've got the Dora. Chances are the other hands don't have Dora, right? They can have at most one if you've got an Anko, and then maybe they flip an Uda or something to increase the value a little bit. But quite frequently they will miss, and so you're dealing into 1,000, 2,000 points when you're fighting for your 8,000 point hand or more. Uh, Over the course of a season, you'll win, even if you win and lose at a 50% rate, those coin flips, you're winning 8,000, you're losing 2,000. It's in your favor. So picking those spots to fight oftentimes gets rewarded, and things get really exciting when you've got a Mangan hand and the opponent also has a Mangan hand, and then it's not quite so easy.
Yeah. And then you're off, and then eventually you just hit the button, sit back, relax, flip some coins, see if you go up or down. but I think we're getting close to the game delay catching up. Um, and just to, as we get into this game, looking at our incentives for the players in this matchup, Sichuan, really just looking to not take, you know, minus 100, could even, honestly could afford minus 100 and still be in good shape for promotion, but really just looking to not lose a whole ton of points and maintain uh, this first place promotion spot. Stanley and Ryan a little bit closer to falling out of the guaranteed promotion range, within range of some of these players that are right outside of it. And so looking to cement their spots, but also just hoping not to lose too many points over the course of this session. And then Andrew, our oddball, not quite, I think oddball is a little bit mean, but uh, within this group is the lowest in the standings, but is actually very close to plus minus zero at -3. And so looking to just get positive and try to get as close to the guaranteed promotion spot, hopefully falling into one of those extra promo spots that trickles down over the due to hiatuses and such. And so oh, actually, with the updated standings, we see that Ryan has actually fallen out of the guaranteed promotion zone. So with these next few games, it's looking to get back in there.
It looks like the whatever internet issue was preventing the update from happening was also preventing the game from loading. So hopefully the output was at least still working. We do see the game in progress. Stanley, our current dealer, Ryan to the right. Across the way we have Sichuan, and on the left we've got Andrew. 2 calls already for Shidomi. We've Sichuan across the way. Looks like it's going to be a play for Toy Toy with
Yeah, already
Yakuhai West.
Yishanten for this toy. And pretty normal play, I would say. I think in Richie Book 1, this is called Toy Dash. You start with a lot of really callable pairs, Yakuhais and terminals, and you get Toy +1, in this case with the +1 being the extra Han from your West triplet. And so you just call this down and get your 3 Han 40.
Yeah, these you would expect to see the North Wind come out. The only reason it hasn't is because it hasn't been drawn. And similarly, the 9-so just in the wall somewhere. So that's the only reason why this hand hasn't won yet. And of course, the later it gets, the more nervous you get about other players completing their hand, especially when the door is the red dragon and none are visible.
Right. And I think one of the big turning points for this hand, at least, will be whether the tune comes out from dealer here, because I think Ryan will just instantly call that. And uh, I think as soon as that gets called, then Ryan will probably be in Tenpai.
Yep.
So it'll end up being whether Sichuan feels comfortable pushing the Toy +1 against the guaranteed Mangan that Ryan shows.
Ryan also had an interesting choice there, as we see Sichuan find Tempai with a Northwind draw, winning on 4 mon 9. So we will see a Ricci from Stanley rather, for Sanchoku. I think if this wasn't Sanchoku, might be less inclined to make this play. But because this is worth 7,700 minimum, is willing to take the fight. That will at least match the value of the Mangan.
Yeah, and suddenly things get super tense. Oh, con chance.
Oh, it's a Sumo instead. Toy Sha will shut things down. Enough Fu from all of these terminal calls and uncles to make this a 350 even. So will be 6,400 plus the Ricci stick for Sichuan.
Yeah, and some things are inevitable. You get your Mangan Tenpai, and it just loses to Toy.
Yeah, Toy, not a Yaku that I frequently attempt, but can be really strong at shutting hands down, especially when you had such good pairs. Definitely a good play there. Well, Ryan as dealer also with good sets here, not for a Toy, but probably a Tanyao here. Maybe a Pinfu is possible.
Right, and I think the dream is obviously you draw really well in your Mansu and get towards that Itsu.
Yeah, holding the 9 mon just in case that happens. Also holding this Dora Green Dragon, hoping for a pair up.
Right, plenty of options for good value here, but as dealer, you may just err on the side of go fast, get your repeat. But to our right, speaking of speed, we have the pair of red dragons for Sichuan, uh, and very reasonable blocks in the rest of the hand. So, very good hand for, maintaining your lead, cut off the dealership, go fast, get tempai. But across the way, for Andrew, these are very reasonable shapes. In fact, can even find 2-3-4 Sanchoku, but dropping away from the 2-4 Kanton, decides wants to prioritize. Uh, I think, yeah, just wants to prioritize either keeping the Knights of 4 pin Champon or just playing around the Ryamen wait. I don't know. How about you? Would you have played a little more greedy, gone for the 2-3-4 Sanchoku chance?
Yeah, I kind of like the 4-pin cut there because it holds the Itsu open in the Pinzu and also holds the 2-3-4 Sanchoku chance open. I will say though that this Shabo weight, the 4-pin 9-so, is very sneaky because it does have a Suji trap set up already, and I imagine that's probably a little bit what Andrew was looking at. It turns out
Right,
that the 3-pin would have been drawn. You'd have a chance at the Sanchoku here. Of course, no guarantees that you get the 2-so instead of the 5-so.
right. And then to our left, Stanley, very pretty standard looking hand, Richi Pinfu. Maybe also hoping to draw super well into the Itsu, but middle of the second row now. Maybe thinking more along the lines of how do you get through this hand more safely, start folding, hold some safety.
Yeah, and if the pay ends up being the pair in this hand, is unfortunately not going to be able to get the pinfu, but could just call it if it comes out. Again, pay buried in the wall. We don't know where they are. And Andrew's found a
Peach.
different path to Tempai. This is pretty good too. Ricci pinfu with the
Reaching.
oh, didn't want the Peiko chance.
Oh,
If you drop the one pin instead, you can draw the 2-pin, the last 2-pin for Peiko.
right. And the weight is the same no matter if you drop 4 pin or 1 pin. It's
Right.
always going to be 2-5. So if you drop it to 1 pin, then at least you have your chance at getting the Peiko.
Yeah, even if it's very slim. We'll see how Ryan wants to play this. This is Tempai. It could be Doratanki. 5-so doesn't look like a good discard,
Peach.
but you're dealer, and you might as well go for it. So we'll see the Ricci on the Hatsu. That's 3 in the wall.
Wow.
That
This is,
it's
you're not
better.
expecting this to
It's
be,
better than the Yamen.
uh,
3
yep,
versus 2.
Ryamen always loses to Tonki. What did I say?
Yeah, this is a scary moment for Andrew. You know Dora is a bad draw here. Just praying not to get it. So far it's avoided it. There's the 2-pin, but Stanley's just out. Stanley has no reason to be aggressive here, especially with a dealer Ricci on top of things.
Okay, and the wall is looking really thin, and these hot suits still not have been drawn.
Oh, 5 comes
Sumo.
out instead. Well, we found out earlier that 4 was better than 3, but turns out 2 is better than 3. So is 2 better than 4 by the transitive property?
Uh, transitive property. I have not heard those words in a hot minute.
I guess we will find out in a bit.
Mm. Well, starting off, Sichuan gets dealer. These high pie. Uh, Not very inspiring. The stream on Phil is quite nice though. Uh, and making a choice, it seems, to pursue Chanta with the 4-so and 6-pin discards. So it looks like Chanta going to be the main source of value for this hand, and Sichuan playing very aggressively towards that with these discards. To our right, Andrew making pretty good progress on a Richi Pinfu hand. Is also holding a Dorahatsu, can also find value that way. And these shapes will hopefully evolve into a good Tenpai with a good weight. Across the way, Stanley, uh, really reasonable shapes, has a couple of Conchan to fill, but is currently sitting in 2 Shanten. Needs the 2-so and 6-so, hopefully. And to our left, Ryan, oh, very reasonable shapes, can actually play for a half flush, has the Anko of South, and then a really reasonable pin shapes, but would need to discard away from that 2-3 so Ryanman.
An interesting play for Ryan there would be to try Chanta instead. Had the option to cheat the 2-pin, but I like passing. I'd rather have a draw and see, what direction my draws take me rather than trying to force something to happen here when there's so many options. Ends up drawing a Dora and decides that's the signal to go into Honitsu.
Right. And this is something, these are decisions that I struggle with, but Stanley actually has a little bit less struggle, draws into a pair of Dodora, and will now call that instantly if it ever comes out for Tenpai. But yeah, with Honitsu
Come.
hands, I'm always a little bit uh, uh, torn about whether to commit really early with calls or to wait around and see where my draws take me. But we see Ryan really committing here, takes the con on the non-Yaku South.
リーチ
But hold that thought, because Stanley finds Tenpai Richi, one so Hatsu wait. Hatsu is once cut now. One Mon is dead, being held by Sichuan. So it'll just be a race to see if this Hatsu ever comes out.
I think Ryan has no need to attempt that, should have plenty of safe tiles. And so a big question then would be, does the 1-mon get Suji trapped? And will Sichuan push it out? I don't think there's lots of 4-mons in the wall. I think all of them are in there. So perhaps it will get Suji trapped. There's just very little reason for Sichuan to push this hand. It's so far from Tenpai, even if you are a dealer.
Right. And you have this triplet of West that's just screaming 3 turns of safety.
Right.
So not likely to deal in here. And so much more likely to see a exhaustive draw. Or Andrew still has chances to find Tenpai.
Yeah, you're right. Andrew, not out of it, has been, folding away with 2 so, 4 so. Actually, 3 4 so's come out in total, but still has some paths back in. Ryan has been.
There's the 4-mon, the Suji trap you were talking about.
Oh, you're right. Still east. How's that look? Shonpai? No, once cut. East is Genbutsu, so should be all the safe tiles in the world for Sichuan. Ryan might be able to find Tenpai if a 2-pin or 5-pin comes out from Stanley.
7, 8-mon. I think 8-mon is Genbutsu. Don't need to toss that out.
Yeah, Ryan's probably spending a little bit of time thinking, if I get Tenpai here, should I push this Suji 7? And it does end up doing it anyway. Will just be the 3,000 pickup for Stanley. Due to Kyoku payments, leaves 1 stick in the middle for the next winner.
Dealership advances. Now Andrew's turn. And pretty reasonable shapes. Good Ryamans. You're wishing you had chances at 7, 8, 9 Sanjaku, but the 9th thing gets discarded, so going to play as efficiently as possible. To our right, Stanley, also very nice shapes, especially in Monsu, or in the Mon tiles. You can get a 1, 2, 3 E Peiko, and then hopefully drawing it towards Pinfu in the rest of the hand, and hoping you can get an extra door to work into this. Has the Haku pair now, so it can also just call down and try to end this hand, get the dealership to advance to you. Given the scorelines being reasonably close right now, could opt for a scrappier playstyle that way. And across the way, we see Ryan has the pair of South, unfortunately not Yaku yet, but the rest of the hand is really shaping up well, has the chances at 6, 7, 8 Sanjuku, and could just work this towards a very normal Richi Pinfu hand. And with that 9-pin draw, has entered Ishanten, perfect Ishanten, with that 6, 6, 7 shape, and then the 5, 5 acting as the pair. Oh wait, not perfect Ishanten. I am high and not reading very well. Dropping away from the south pair now. But Stanley draws the second Dora. Now has a very scary hand, actually. Chi Toy Yishan 10, but can still call the Haku and play this for more
Each.
normal shapes. But hold that thought, Andrew finds Tenpai, Ichi waiting on 7 so, which is 3 in the wall.
Yeah, it must be confusing to the other players when you see Tuso, 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 Ricci.
Right. And, you know, if you're tracking Tadashi and Sumogiri, you know, not all of them came from hand, but you still saw a pair of Tuso get discarded, so um, maybe a little bit suspicious of what's happening with dealer's hand.
Yeah, we do have Tenpai for Ryan across the way, but not willing to take a Ricci on just a Kanchan. Maybe if it was Sanchoku, but that's one tile off. Still maintains the Tenpai though,
Don't.
and that does cause a deal-in. Ricci Nomi. Still 2,000 points plus Honba. And Andrew does get the Ricci stick as well, so inching closer to first place here.
Yep.
This Hypai.
And
Oh, go ahead.
oh no, sorry, you can do high five.
Oh, I was just gonna say this Hypai. You're really happy when your first draw is Dora.
Yeah. Yeah.
But looks good for Tanya. Dora 1. If you can get the 6 mon, and there's even chances. Okay, if you get 2 6 mon, there's chances of that being true. But you could just try calling it down if you can find that 6. To the right, Stanley
Yeah.
with okay shapes. I mean, just the Penchon, Kanchan shapes in the Pinzu look bad. I started looking at the Monzu and was feeling very optimistic, but it starts to drain away when I see the rest of them, rest of the blocks. Of course, nothing that a few good draws can't fix. Ryan across the way, those look pretty strong. The Dora connector 9mon isn't the best, but we'll probably hold it over these honor tiles. We see 4 honor discards already. Sichuan on the left, pair of Hatsu, but the problem is those have been cut already, the other 2. So that can at best be a pair in the hand, and the hand has a lot of random honors to chew through. At this point, you're thinking, was this Kokshi? Maybe it was.
Only 8 with everything you've discarded.
You do
You
have
discarded 1 June.
a Dora,
3.
and with a hand that's this poor, I start to think about Chitoy. Now there's another pair. So maybe Chitoy really is the out here. Chitoy Dora 2 would be quite strong.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I miscounted. It was 9 terminals in total. 9 honors and terminals if kept the tune. But yeah, I think Chitoy is a fairly reasonable direction. Could also look at Onitsu if you were willing to discard the Dora there.
Speaking of Chitoy, Ryan across the way has paired up a few tiles now, 5 pairs. This is Chitoy Ishan 10, but also Ishan 10 for a normal hand. There's even Dianpeiko chance.
Yeah, and cutting away from that 7-9 Kanchan, started with a 9 mon instead of a 7 mon. I think the 7 mon discard for me is personally what I've done. Hedges the Chi Toy a little bit more, since the 9 mon would be a better weight, and 7 mon is the indicator right now, so a little bit less likely to be in the wall or get drawn.
Yeah, perhaps one benefit to dropping the 9 first is if you do draw the Dora, then at least you have a Yaban shape, even if it is Furitan. You might say, that's good enough for me to keep. Maybe I'll drop back into Tenpai later.
Mm-hmm.
Octavia, though,
Speaking of good Dora shapes, Dealer is drawn into very nice Ishan 10, upgrades it yet again.
yeah, and this helps a lot
is
because you're not required to end up on a Shabo weight.
Right, but unfortunately this is actually Furi 10.
You're right.
The Sozu shape, waiting on 2-5 so, but 8 so already in the discards. But a Furry 10 3-sided shape is about as good as Kanchan. So
There's decent chance that you just draw back into it. Maybe one of the ways to avoid the Furiten there would have been to drop the 7 mon before the 8 so, because you don't really want to have to drop the 8 mon anyway, so keeping the 7-8 as a shape seems like a totally fine move. We do have Tenpai across the way for Ryan though, Dama waiting on 1/4 Mon with
本
Pinfu only. But Ryan really wants the upgrade into Dion Peiko here.
Right. And while we were talking, Stanley also finds Yakulas Tenpai for 5 mon 4 pin.
Yeah, Stanley
Uh,
had the feeling that hand was not going anywhere and decided if I
Gee.
can at least get Tenpai, maybe I can maintain this all the way to the end.
right. But draws Adora just discards it, not mm, determined to maintain this K10.
Interesting
Gee.
chi, but Andrew will end up getting Tenpai here on the 6 mon. We said
Right.
that was the critical tile for this hand from the start, but then Stanley pulled 3 of them away, and the last one was discarded. So this hand actually cannot win unless it's a Haite 9-mon sumo or a Hote 9-mon discard.
But hold that thought. Sichuan actually finds Tenpai for Cheetor.
Sumo.
Dora
Just,
2.
just as that
but-
happens, Ryan summons the 1-mon and didn't take the win immediately, held that thought, said maybe Furiten Ricci for Dianpeko is good here. Or you could also take the temporary Furiten and then switch to a Chitoi weight later. But I think it was late enough in the hand that just taking the Tsumo's probably fine. And maybe if you're willing to take the Tsumo, you should just Ricci. I'm not sure, 100% which way I would have gone in that situation.
Yeah. Ryan kind of in a position where needs all the points he
Gee.
can get, given that he's right outside the guaranteed promotion zone. So maybe if it was Sichuan, who had some points to play around with, could have seen the funny Ricci for round Pico chance. But I think the taking the sumo there is very reasonable,
Yeah.
even without Ricci.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and Ryan continues with the interesting draws here. Now an Onko of East, multiple outside tiles. It looked like he was moving in the direction of Chanta Honitsu, or rather Chanta Kokushi type discards. But now that you've drawn an Onko, really seems to be moving towards the Chanta.
Right. And yeah, with the 5 pin and 5 mon discard early, people may feel a little
Gee.
bit suspicious of what's happening there, but South discard making.
Pom.
But here's the palm, and we can easily see this transition into a Honroto as well, with all the 1 pin, with the 1 pin pair in hand as well being very callable.
Now, Hiroto, one of my favorite Yaku, but very rare. You need to have sets that only include terminals and honors. Usually you get that with Toy Toy, but Chitoi Horoto is another out. And here's a 9-mon pair up, so this is viable. This could happen.
Honroto real. But speaking of terminal-based hands, Andrew is also working towards a Chanta, hoping to incorporate 789 Sanchiku as well.
This Nightpin poses a question. Do you just drop the door and try to be efficient here? Andrew greets the door a little bit longer.
Right. But unfortunately, unbeknownst to Andrew, the Hatsu is actually being handshaked, held by Stanley as well, pairwise. So will be a race to see who discards the Hatsu first.
Yeah. Looks like Sichuan across the way drew a nice fill for a potential Itsu, and this hand is Ishanten now.
Right.
Oh no,
It's
doesn't
always-
want the Ishanten.
Oh, interesting. Suspicious of the 8 pin,
And he's
or
right.
perhaps, yeah. And gets rewarded,
Sort of.
draws into a Ryamen, but it's Furiten because of the 6 pin in the discard.
Yeah, this is really wacky, and now it has the Dora. That's not coming out.
Yeah, we're late in the round, and you're seeing some suspicious calls. Not worth. But Stanley is actually working towards a closed half flush.
Amazing
with the pin
considering an 8-pin and a 9-pin have been cut already from the Honitsu suit.
Right. And this is actually quite wide in terms of acceptance. Would really like to get the Haku, or even just being able to call the Hatsu, but both seem very unlikely to happen. This 4-pin is really nice.
Kishanten
Yeah,
for not
yep,
only Chitoy, but also a normal hand.
right. Honestly, Manhong Chitoy
Chi.
might be even better than your normal hand if you can get it. Here's the call, and Andrew refuses to drop the Haku, very suspicious of what's happening. And this
Stanley's
is a
turn to
choice.
decide. Call here is Tempai,
Yeah,
technically, but it's not a good Tempai.
right. Oh, is this
リ
rewarded?
ーチ
Yep, Tempai here.
Alright, 2-pin Hatsu is the way.
Oh, and Ryan
ドン
draws into Tempai just there and will deal in. This is a monster. Richi Patonitsu. Ura. That's 12,000 point Mangan.
Yeah, honestly, I was expecting like a 70 to get flipped there, based on how the games have gone today.
We've seen so many Ura tonight. It's insane. Oh, wow. First
Boom.
discard Dora, and that's going to get instantly pwned by Sichuan, who has an incredible hand there. Chun pair as well, South pair. Those are all Yakuhai.
Boom.
There's another pwn. Could
Oh
we
my.
see... Okay, I was going to say, Naruto from this is a little bit too far, but at least Honitsu is plausible.
Yeah,
And
this is already a Hanuman just if you get every single Yakuhai pair, and then if you add the Honisu on top, it's a Daimon.
you're right. And maybe for that reason, Shinobi not thinking about Honitsu here, cutting 9 so and 1 so.
Right, like, you already have Mangan showing, and then you can be greedy, but just banking the 8,000 points you have right now is very conducive to your overall game plan, because
Oh,
you just want this game to end.
oh.
Ooh,
I was thinking about the
could
chance at a
have
very real Daisangan TM, but
very real.
I mean, at that point, even if it's Shosangan, you're looking at Sanbaimon territory,
Right.
potentially.
A lot of very, I think a couple of our Sun Baimon slash Big Baimon hands have been from Shosangens,
Mm.
actually. I think the most notable one I can remember is Garth's. I think he's had two pretty big Shosangen hands over the last couple seasons.
I remember one of the first hands that Garth played in the league was an absolute monster. It was certainly a welcome to the league. This is for the players who were, I believe, in B3 at the time was the bottom division. We have since expanded. I know a lot of people have joined the league this season in anticipation of the summer season, so perhaps we'll be expanding further. Who knows?
チ
Mm.
Stanley calls into Tanya Ishanten, maybe an apt opportunity to mention to any of the viewers who are interested in participating in the summer season. Registration is still open until the 19th of June, so you still have 7
Gee.
days to register. You can do so on the website, americanrichi.org. We do have
Yes,
Tempai.
sir.
No.
Tempai, 2-5
And of course, Dealer 3-6 will take it, snatch it away with the Tanya. Does end the Mangan threat.
Yeah. And really nice for Stanley, actually. Gets to maintain first place, cuts off the big threat, and gets another chance at some strong high pies. This one, I would say pretty average. You get one completed block and a pair, and then a Conchan to fill in, but a very workable tempo. See what you can get from this. To the right, Ryan, also fairly reasonable shapes, good Manzu shapes especially, but we'll need a little bit of work to work this towards most likely Richi, Pingfu. Maybe with some good draws, you can get 789 Sanshiku and incorporate the 9 So Dora as well on top of that. And then across the way, Sichuan trying to just get Stanley off the dealership, move the game along, calls the south for Yaku, and will likely just try to play efficiently to fill out the rest of his hand. And to our left, Andrew has 6, 7, 7, 8 in the Mon tiles. Can very wide acceptance, gets a 5 Mon to add on to that. Can also have chances to build any Peiko shape around that for some extra value. Has the 9 So that he's keeping in hand, but a little bit hard to fit in with how the hand is going towards Ping Fu.
Or you could just
Or just,
pair it up.
why do I speak?
I mean, we speak to it's like the caster's blessing in this instance. Bring up how hard the 9-so is to use, so that Andrew draws the 9-so, pairs it up, and gets to use it very cleanly in the Pinfu hand. Yeah,
Right.
assuming we can draw something like 2 Mon to make sure it is actually Pinfu.
Yeah. Maybe this is like the secret sauce I've been missing from my games this season. I just need to commentate and bless my hands while I'm playing.
Yeah, apparently when I speak, I curse the players and you bless them, so maybe you should just take over commentary. Actually, commentate my games. I need some of the Philip blessing.
Yeah. Steal away first place in A1 from
Korak
Korak.
Korak had a huge series in A1. Perhaps once these games are done tonight, we'll take a look at the overall standing in all the divisions. But
Ooh. Steady progress being made around the table. I think Sichuan is currently sitting in Yishan 10, but does need to fill in some Kanchans. And Ryan is also Yishan 10. Pretty reasonable shapes. Can get yeah, is just gonna hope to draw around the 5-6 pins, use them as or it could end up in some pretty bad weights winning on 5-6 pin. But you know,
yeah,
also has some good chances for like Itsu as well in the Montiles.
yeah, it's very flexible. Like you say, wants to draw around it so that you don't have to wait on the 5-6 Shabo. But technically, Zishan 10 could just end up on that weight. Stanley has made an interesting move, discarding 6-so, 8-so, committing to the Honitsu play, and then does get to call the tune here. So is making progress in that direction. Still a couple floating honors.
Right, and this 3-pin, really nice. Nice to hold on the south for safety, fully safe against the table, given the call by Sichuan Cross.
It is a little awkward. Both the Hatsu and the Nan are completely dead, so neither of those tiles can be the pair. And currently the hand does kind of need a pair. You don't want the 7 Mon to be the pair in this hand.
Right. I mean, unless of course you would be very happy to chi a 7-pin and end up on the 2-pin, 5-pin weight.
Yeah, 7-pin.
But unfortunately, both 7-pins being held by Andrew, who is still Yishan 10, and would be pretty happy to take the 7-pin 9-so Sean Pawn if it came. Here's a 4-pin. Do you chi this?
You can actually pull that into Tempai.
Oh, good catch. I am blind.
I mean, it's not easy to see because you really want that to be, a 3-4-5 shape.
Right.
But it does fix the problem of missing a pair.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of 6-pin would be the weight there. Ryan draws all 3 of them. Had been going for a Chitoy, but now has other options. However, a lot of those options now involve dealing into Sichuan, who has South only, but Tempai on the board.
It's actually Furry 10.
Oh, you're right. So that's not going to deal in at all. Still, with 3 draws left, it's good to be Tempai.
Mm-hmm.
Stanley hoping that something comes out from Andrew that will allow him to find Tempai.
Right. This 9-pin will do it. Or actually, no, it won't. It won't.
Yeah, just take your draw then. See, hope for a 2-5.
Take your draw.
Ryan will also miss.
Tempai.
So it looks like we're going to Ryukyoku.
Yep.
4-pin would be a great call, but unfortunately will not be able to be called. And Sichuan, had a choice there. If you want to play complete safety, you just hold the 4-pin, play some save Mon tile, let it go to Ryukyoku, maybe even lose a couple thousand points, but make sure you don't deal in. Sichuan took the fight, has plenty of points to fight with, being first place overall in the division, and gets rewarded with the 3,000 points from no 10 payments.
And pretty strange progression of the hand. Everyone just sitting in Yishan 10 for a long time. And even Sichuan, who had the what looked like the fastest hand called super early. Just couldn't find Tenpai until the very end.
Yeah, a couple players we did see had opportunities. A 6-mon came out that Andrew could have called, but he wanted to stay closed and increase the value of the hand. Didn't end up finding a talented Tenpai after that. We also saw Stanley with the opportunity to call 4-pin, let that one pass, and ended up not being able to call the second time it came out, as that was the last discard. But here we are in South 2. Ryan, dealer, pretty decent shapes. That A-pin is an amazing fill-in. Now your Kutsuki Shanten, you have a floating 5-pin that you can draw around for Tenpai. You also have a floating 6-mon or 3-mon. Consider either of those to be the floating tile. If you draw around that, you will also be Tenpai. I mean, ideal draw here is just 7-mon. Get 3-sided weight and Dora. But we'll see if that happens. To the right, Shinomi, that's this one, Ishanten. Dian Shanten. And needs a 5 soap, ideally. But outside of that, the shapes are good. Well, now South pair, that would be double none for our South player. Across the way, Andrew is trying to fight a Santoku, but not drawing the right tiles towards it. However, is Ishanten with a floating 6-mon to draw around. On the left, we have Stanley. There's a Dora in hand, and this is Ishanten. No, that mon shape is not complete. Dian Shanten.
Right. And dealer actually has a chance to eat some now with this 8-mon draw. Gave up on the 5-pin from earlier.
Yeah, technically Tenpai on the 7-mon, but you don't really want to take a Ricci on Dora when you have so many good upgrades.
Right.
Each.
Or, I guess, got a little bit antsy, didn't want to wait around anymore with this Tenpai.
Yeah, I think because of the call of the South, it signals other players are making good progress. You want to shut that down.
Right. And especially because it's double non, you would just want to try to head off any opposition to your hand.
And we did see Pei Pei come out. However, that hasn't stopped Sichuan from finding Ishanten here.
Still looking for a pair to set up, or has pair candidates in hand, but wants to find a way to lock those in.
This is Tenpai for Andrew, but it's just on the Kanchan 5-mon for Ricci Nomi. Not good value, not good weight, and doesn't even take the Tenpai.
Very disciplined. Like that a lot. Kind of makes sense in terms of incentives. You don't want to be sort of tossing away your points when you're so close to being in the positives overall.
Yeah, especially when you're having a good game in South 2 and positive 3rd place with a chance at taking first even.
Yeah, and that's another consideration. Scores are so tight, and it's a last place dealer Ricci. So even if the dealer sumo's here, you're still maintaining the same distance to the people around you. So,
and on the other hand, if you deal into dealer Mangan, you swap places.
Right. And here's the 3rd copy of 7-mon. One more left in the wall.
Oh, there it is.
And it was the height, or it was drawn.
Let's go around. I mean, one block off in the draw order. One tile off in the draw order. That does mean we're going to do Kyoku. At least Ryan will pick up a couple thousand points, leave a Ricci stick. And importantly, continue the dealership. There's 4 Homeball, 1 Ricci stick. And this is a callable hand. Ryan has the Hatsu pair. Can open up for that. There's a door in hand as well. And okay shapes and floaters. I'm not disappointed if I open up to this hand. Shidomi on the right. Oh, that's excellent. Ishanten already. Just looking for a pair. And a door in hand as well. This is super ideal. Across the way, Andrew with lots of So tiles. Not necessarily committing to a Sohonitsu though, as we see early honor cuts. On the left, Stanley has south pair, so we can open up if we need to. There's a door in hand as well. We've seen Stanley turn these types of hands into Honito a lot, and seems to be hedging that with these early cuts of the outer tiles that are not Manzu. 2-so, 2-pin, 8-pin all coming out first.
Yeah, and I think it's fairly reasonable to hedge, if not the Honitsu, just the Itsu chances that you have with the Mon tiles. Um, and especially as non-dealer, you have a little bit more wiggle room to play for more valuable hands, since you don't have to worry about keeping your uh, repeats and dealers. But dealer actually having a pretty good go of it draws into the triplet of the greens in hand, can now just call whatever and have Yaku.
Here's a question. What do you think about Daiming Khan on that Hatsu?
Ooh, that is interesting. I don't know if you're. I think
It feels a little desperate almost.
it's a little bit more desperate than maybe is needed. Um, you're on your dealer turn, and while you are deep in fourth place in comparison to the others, it's not like unwinnable. You can very easily drag other people below 30k, and given the pot in the middle, it may be better to just try to uh, take more normal looking calls
1、
than the Diamond Con and just instantly give everyone an incentive to push even harder than before.
Yeah, one of the reasons that I even normally I wouldn't consider Diamond Con at all, but if I anticipate that I need to open the hand anyway, you do get some extra foo. You do flip another Dora indicator, and if you need points, that might be um, exactly what you need in order to climb. Ryan did end up opening the hand anyway, and the weight is the 1-mon 9-pin. There is one mon being held by Stanley. Might end up leaving the hand if a 7 mon is drawn. The other weight, the 9-pin, is once in the wall and one's being held tightly by Sichuan on the right.
You're right. The
4、
one does come out. Suji trapped by the one on this card.
2,000 points
And
plus the Ricci stick back and the extra 1,200 from Homba. So it is a decent win for Ryan. It also tightens the race for first place. Stanley now to second, and that allows Sichuan the lead at the moment.
I'm actually thinking about the Daimikon a little bit more. I think the food consideration is actually pretty big, considering you. I think at the point where you could have Daimikon, the 4-mon is a little bit hard. You can incorporate it, but it would require drawing a few more tiles around the 4-mon and 6-mon in hand.
Yeah, it's a really
Okay.
interesting question. Like, again, not a common move to Diamond Con. When you have the Anko, the triplet in your hand already, and the fourth tile comes out, usually you just want to stay close so you can reach it. But that's at least one of those situations where I do think about it at least.
Well, yeah, continuing on this dealer run, Ryan has already plenty of really nice shapes in hand. Um, yeah, just wants to draw around these pairs. May have to cut away from a couple of them. We do see a disconnect from Andrew. Hopefully, that's temporary.
Yeah, Ryan drawing more pairs.
Right. You know, maybe drawing more pairs is trying to lead you on the path towards cheat
Boom.
code, but you are Ishan 10 for a normal looking hand and can end on, 1 mon 8 so Champon this way.
And I do want to point out, I that was a little bit of a tricky decision for Ryan. We saw him thinking about that 1-pin cut for a long time, but he also might have noticed the disconnect and been trying to allow some extra time for Andrew to connect. And if that's the case, good sportsmanship from Ryan right there. Andrew did connect in time to be able to call the Hatsu. And then disconnected again. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, at least you got your important call.
Yeah, right. And the Shaw is still out there to be found. The other hand's not
Mhm.
looking too bad here. On the right, we have Sichuan Ishanten technically. Not the greatest shapes, though. On the left, Stanley has a lonely Dora in hand, but lots of so tiles. Of course, whenever you see 2 1s and 2 9s, whenever I see 2 1s and 2 9s, I'm always thinking about the Chuden possibility, but that looks like it's not going to happen in this hand.
Right. I mean, it's still on the table. There's one more 9 so in the wall. Or
Same
one
for the
so
one
dead.
so.
One more 1 so, but I think Stanley probably just going to take this towards a normal
Oh
tempi.
my goodness! Look at these draws for Shidomi. The question is, do
Okay,
we Dama?
just draw better.
There's Sancho chance here.
Ricci, yeah, Ricci, Pinfu, Tanyao, Dora, chance at Sanshoku.
Yeah, the weight's good. There's 4 in the wall despite having 3 in his own hand.
Yeah, there's one of them, but can you discard the Tumon?
You can't. There's no way.
There's no Suji out. You can push this, right?
The one run was the door tile. There's a long tank as well.
Uh,
I would respect, a Sha cut is
Yeet.
quite reasonable too. But Andrew chooses maximum safety here. Oh, and now draws
and
another teal tile.
right, and Ryan actually did a bit of Mawashi with the 1 mon discard. Cat back into Tenpai, now waiting on 2 5 mon. And now it's a question of,
롱.
yep, does end up winning. Not on the Dora though, but continues the dealership and gets to collect a Ricci stick as well.
Yeah, Stanley happened to pair up the door there, and all of a sudden that hand became worth fighting for. And didn't get hit too hard by this, but that does mean that Ryan is picking up steam here. Now 6 Homba, over 20,000 points, and everyone tightly grouped together around 30,000.
Yeah, and looking at all these dealer repeats, did you see that
Home.
game? Maybe it was either a few days ago or a few weeks ago, where I think it was Ada who ran up or like 8 or 10 consecutive dealer repeats for Pa Renchan.
I didn't see it live. I did look at the log later. I believe in South 4, 10 repeats. 8 of them were wins, so there were definitely eight wins for Padenchan, and a couple of Ryukyoku to boot. It just an insane performance in all last of all things, and Ada took home a bunch of points out of that game. I think it was something like a plus 80.
Right. And just one of the benefits of being last dealer, no one goes home until you say they go home, right?
That's right. And well, Ryan's trying to make a similar performance here in South too, but it looks like the streak might be coming to an end as 2 players now opening up, trying to prevent that from happening. To the right, Sichuan with the Haku call, and now Ishanten with potential Toy switch in the future. And across the way, Andrew also opening up on the Chun and Ishanten there as well.
Right. To our left, Stanley, still playing fairly normal, is also Ishan 10, but may end up on but with this 5 mon draw, can cut away from one of the pairs, and just end up for a very normal Ricci Pingfu Tenpai.
Now
Our
our
dealer is actually uh, very reasonable Tanyo shapes, I think, and would want to call in order to bank the 2 Dora. There's also 2 Shanten from Chitoi Tenpai.
Yeah, Brian actually started with both Dora and hasn't seen any since. I mean, the other 2 are in the wall. And Ryan is a player who does think about Chitoi. We've seen him play some pairs-based hands already in this game, but it's a lot easier to make progress when you have the ability to call, and that's where we'll see this 4-pin pull, and hopefully a couple more calls for Ryan to carry on this dealership.
Yep.
Still a waiting game for these other players. Andrew across the way has drawn one of the door tiles, and will likely keep that closely held.
There's a
G,
seven pin.
2-3 pin,
Uchi,
2-3. So I
two
mean,
three so. Yeah, I think 2 3 so makes sense. Maintain your pairs, and then also uh 2 3 so one side of it is Antonio, so a little bit less useful.
and with so many of these 5 so being discarded, you have the feeling that maybe 6 so or 8 so will come
7
out. We do see a call for Tempai, not choosing the Shaba weight, but rather the 3-mon, which looks quite good because Sichuan can see all of the 4-mon.
Oh, and maybe
つも
pays off immediately, actually,
Yeah,
using that Formon Kabe information.
props to Ryan for avoiding the deal in. But the 3-mon were back to back in the wall, and Sichuan does find the win in the end. So the reign of Ryan is over, at least for the time being. South 3, Sichuan dealer, South Dora. One South in hand, 3 pairs. Not that this has to be Chitoy, but we can think about it. To the right, Andrew, sloppy hand here. Not much to do easily. You just play standard efficient cuts and hope that your draws improve the hand. Across the way, Stanley has, I was going to say, far away 7-8-9 Sanchoku chance, but that's too far, especially when you're drawing pairs like this. So we'll just play standard efficiency here as well. The interesting thing for Stanley here is what to do with this South Dora.
Mhm.
ポン
How long do you hold on to it? Because honestly, it might be your best chance at value, but it's also standing in your way of being able to build towards, a Richi Pinfu hand.
Right. We did see a point of the Hatsu from Ryan. Had Tempai, but chose to go a little bit greedier. I do like the greed here. Chance at Honitsu, Ishanten.
Yep. There's this.
It should be.
Is Tenpai.
5-mon Tempai.
Yep.
This did give the draw of the South, though, to Sichuan, who... Oh, never mind. Just Sumo.
Doesn't matter.
That dealer hand was also looking quite scary. But...
Yeah, dealer. Hey,
got
just
cut off.
sumo. Just sumo, baby.
And that means we're going to all last. And looking at the scoreline, Andrew here just below 30,000. Stanley also just below. Both players have a lot of incentive to win a quick, fast hand. Ryan needs to build a little bit more value in last place. And then Shinomi Sichuan on the left can just win with any hand and confirm first place here. So
Yeah.
mm,
And the story of this game has just been super tight scores all the way through. Like even now, Ryan can get back above 30K. Not doesn't even necessarily need a Mangan. Can put together just a four-hand hand, or
yeah, like
just a four-hand hand.
just a
But
4-hand hand. But I mean, if someone throws in a reach stick, for example, you don't even need a
mhm.
4-hand hand. And if there's a repeat and you don't lose any points, again, another situation where you don't need a 4-hand hand. You can get away with 340. So very, very close for Ryan here. And if your goal isn't even 30,000, but rather to just take second place, again, 340 will do so.
Yep. And I think for Andrew in this position, obviously getting above 30K, big priority. Maintain your dealer spot, but you may also start taking into consideration where you are in the standings and trying to get back into positive points. So maybe, at least for this hand, I think the shapes are not quite good enough for you to greed for a lot of value, but you can, for if you manage to win this hand, start playing around a bit more, try to see how much value you can jam in here.
These hands have progressed pretty nicely. We have on the left, Sichuan has just reached Ishanten. Andrew, a couple Shantan away, but Stanley is Ishanten, and Ryan across the table also Ishanten. So hands getting very close. Ryan's got a really rough spot here because he wants to use this Dora, but right now the 3-pin's acting as the pair. Now that we've drawn the 2-pin, I think we'll probably drop the 3-pin and take a headless Ishanten, saying I can draw a pair somewhere else.
Right. And using the 3-mon as your pair isn't necessarily that bad. You could draw 6-mon and get a 3-sided weight out of it.
Now, question
Oh,
posed: do we call for Tanyao? And that is answered in the affirmative for Andrew. Oh wow! Oh, this is the Andrew that we all
oh,
know and love. Anticipating
right,
a con. Six pin leaves the
right.
hand.
Yeah, gives up on the 6-7 two-sided weight with the 6 and 4-8 pins. Instead chooses, I'm definitely going to con here, so let me get rid of this 6 now. Uh,
That's
yeah, and when I was talking earlier about, how much do you want to greed for value here, considering your position in the standings, I think Andrew's answer is, yeah, I want to greed as much as possible.
T.
we see
Well, I
another
have the
call
dealer
here,
turn, right?
and you can't
Will it be
con
2
after
pin?
calling, so we'll see a cut.
I think standard is, no?
Yeah, I think
7 mon.
two pin probably is standard.
1.
Oh, we're gonna see a Ricci. It's gonna be
Right.
1 4 pin or 3 6. 1 4 pin going for the extra Dora, perhaps. Ricci Pinfu, Dora 2.
Michi Pinfu Dora 2. This is enough to get back above 30k on either Ron or Sumo.
Now the 2 pin comes out. No con yet. Perhaps Andrew will choose against the con now that there's a Ricci on board.
Right. But you also can't discard this 8 pin because it is not safe at all on this board. Pin tile is looking super
T.
expensive. Everyone's discarding nothing but bamboo and mon for a while.
She
Here's the con chance.
Oh, Rinshan?
Green shot.
Con.
Green shot.
Oh, just off.
Oh,
Flips the 5 pin to be Dora, and that means Shinomi's hand on the left, very expensive. Tanyao Dora 2 can only win on the 4 pin, though. That also means that Ryan, if he does win this hand, has some Uda flips. 3 mon is Genbutsu to the Ricci, and there's 1 left in the wall somewhere. 6 mon has 2 left in the wall.
oh, here's the 4
But
pin.
but
But broke Tempai earlier.
yeah, on the 7, 1 turn too soon. Haku
Yeah.
was once cut and didn't feel it was safe enough, and now it's revealed to be safe. Oh, that's pain.
Uh,
Still tiles on the
here's a
wall for
2
both
mon.
weights, though.
Yep.
1 final Dora. And
Here's the
there's
3
the
mon.
3, but the 6
Can't
comes
touch.
into
Oh,
hand.
6!
It's Tanya only, but 1 in 50.
150.
Usually, if it's Tanya, you get, a Dora or, something else. But 1 in 50 Tanya is pretty rare. But that means that Andrew will carry on as dealer and moves over 30,000.
Very cool.
This high pie, it's not
Uh,
the worst in the world, but certainly could use some improvements. I see we're already dropping away from the north pair, anticipating drawing better tiles than a
mm,
non-value win pair.
Slightly regretting it now because you could have had the North pair and good bamboo blocks. Maybe greeted for Honitsu.
And that would, though, Honitsu and Sozu means you can't draw around the door, and you have 2 good floaters in the Manzu, so perhaps that was a commitment to the Dora suit. Speaking of Dora, though, it is Stanley who's pulling them in. 2 Dora now, and Tanyao tiles as well. Even 4 pairs, so could be a Honitsu for Stanley. Speaking of Honitsu, Ryan, lots of Mon tiles, and a pair of Haku. So it seems to be at least thinking about shifting to Honitsu. And I think if good Mon tiles drawn, like 4 Mon, 2 Mon, will move in that direction. Instead, 7 so is
Right.
drawn. I might put that thought on hold.
Home.
Yeah, Chun comes
Home.
out, instantly called by Sichuan, wanting to end this hand, has the hand to do it, is already 10 by 2 pin, 5 pin.
T.
Yeah, Chunomi, but that's enough to take first place. Everyone opening it up now. Stanley wanting the Tanyao door too.
Sumo.
But it's going to be the Tsumo for Sichuan. And that will end things here. 300, 500 plus Homba. It is first place for Sichuan plus 22.7. Andrew grabs the second place with that very fun dealer hand at the end. Plus 6.7. Stanley just barely dipping below 30k takes the negative third, negative 6.9. And Ryan had a comeback hand that fell just shy, negative 22.5 for Ryan.
Yep. And with that, the standings do change slightly. Sichuan, of course, maintains first place, only climbing higher and higher, competing against himself, I guess, for high score. Stanley does drop slightly in terms of score, is now closer to the bottom of the guaranteed promotion zone. Will really want to use these next two games, minimize losses, and hopefully try to get some small gains to really cement his place in the promotions. Uh, Ryan, unfortunately, taking this rather large, or not large, but taking this fourth place does drop a bit farther away from guaranteed promotion. Will need a couple of higher scores if he wants to be in guaranteed spots. But of course, there are considerations for extra promo spots trickling down due to hiatuses. And Andrew, uh, very nice outcome for him, uh, walks away with the small positive second place and ends up getting barely over into the positive scores, now plus 3.7.
Yeah, of course, more work to do for Andrew. Would love to surpass a couple more players and give himself the best chance at making it into potentially a bonus slot if it does come out. And a negative 22.5 fourth place is, as far as fourth places go, fairly low. That means you played a pretty good game and probably just missed out on a couple wins that got robbed away and or got sumoed out. Negative 40, negative 50, that's when you're really feeling sad about it. But Ryan's still definitely in it. For the other two, probably still feeling pretty comfortable. Looking at the big
Yep.
screen here, can check out all the players in B2, and I think that is the last B2 game of the night. I think there are no more games for this evening, in fact. I'm seeing
That seemed to be the case.
a couple games getting scheduled, around the league for some of the other divisions. It looks like tomorrow there's at least one game scheduled in C1. Maybe we'll be able to catch that one. But yeah, session 6 is everyone's final chance here, and it leads to some very interesting scenarios as players attempt to meet whatever conditions will give them the promotion or avoid demotion. Did you want to take a chance to scan around all the divisions and take a quick look before we head out?
Yeah, sure thing. I think it's a good chance to look over everything, especially before our Wednesday broadcast this week.
All right, well, let's just go top to bottom then. We've got A1 first. This series actually has a couple more games to be played before the position round is determined. Unlike most of the other divisions, the A leagues have a small enough number of players that the session 6 tables are determined by the placement. And so once all of the games are finished, each of the players will know who they are playing against. It looks like we will be still waiting a little bit to determine how that's going to work out for A1. But Korak right now, Arthur at the top, just finished off an incredible set of 3 games yesterday where he earned 3 first places and over 90 points to cement himself up at top of standings. Just needs to hold on in the final for Hanchan. And that was after Anthony in third place and myself had good runs of our own. We each earned 70 to 80 points over the course of our sessions, and Korak earned 100. So we tried our best, but he got a little bit more. It looks like it'll be a pretty interesting race in session 6, depending on how those tables and games turn out. In the demotion zone here, it's very tight. Currently, the topmost demotion slot is DeLong at negative 89.7, but loose about 1.7 points behind Andrew, very close as well. And Steve at negative 69, also not safe yet. And with a whole another 2 games, anything could happen. And it's going to be very interesting watching those demotion zone tables as they play out in session 6.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's definitely worth pointing out that the meta that sort of emerged in A1 this season, sort of as Korak mentioned in chat, is a very call heavy, cheap, scrappy sort of fighting happening in all these tables. You can look at Korak's stats at the top of the table. Win percentage 24%, but the average hand value only 4,910, while also holding a very, very low dealing percentage, 7.3%, uh, and the average deal in there being almost 3,372. And you can see that sort of reflected in all of the average win values, except for, a few exceptions. The hand value in this league is just down, especially in comparison to other leagues, which seems to indicate a lot more opening, a lot cheaper hands, and just very much people trying to play tight games and trying to find very narrow margins of victory against all of the other incredible players in this league.
Yeah, it's so funny to see Korak, the Korak who has the just Ricci meme, having only 15.4% Ricci rate. Sometimes you don't get hands that you can complete close. Sometimes you just need to open and shut down other players. And that's worked well for Korak this season, being very active on the calling and very strong on the defense. I mean, 7.3% dealing percentage is incredible. I'm so jealous. I'm sitting there at 11.9, wondering what went wrong. But yeah, it is. If Korak does end up winning the season, will be well deserved for him for sure.
Yep.
All right, give me a
Following
name.
time,
I need an A2 player.
A2 player, Dustin.
Dustin, very good pick.
Mm. But yeah, Korak, Arthur, longtime journeyman in the A1 league. Uh,
It's been there
and
since the inception.
yep. And hopefully the season pays off with a championship for him.
All right,
And now,
we've got A2 stand-ins up.
yep. And looking at A2, we're seeing a very large winner currently in Andre, plus 268 at the top of the table. Very incredible play record. 9 firsts, only taking 2 last places. And equally incredible EV, 1003. And uh, again, EV being a strong predictor of placement, as we can see. Everyone near the top and in promotion has well over 700 EV, and just only goes down as we go down. Um, in terms of the promotion lines, we see that the line between Kevin and Julian and is fairly close for that last guaranteed promotion spot, uh, hovering at around 72, and will likely end a little bit higher than that for the guaranteed promo slots. But some extra promotion slots may come through, in which case the criteria is to have a positive score at the end of the season. One thing to note is that the number of positive scores in A2 currently there are only 8 players who are positive in a league of 19, which is a little bit less than half. And so we see sort of a very much the rich get richer type style happening in this league. Most of the points are concentrated in the top positive scores, especially in Andre. And as we go down, we start seeing a sort of very tight race in the middle and towards the demotion line. A lot of scores hovering around minus 30, minus 40, going to minus 50. And definitely everyone from maybe Amy down to Riley and even into Leon and Pio is very liable to change into promotions or demotions
Yeah,
coming into this position.
I was just gonna say, there is no guarantee that the current promotions and demotions will stay as they are, except for maybe Andre, who's I was watching some of casting some of his games in session 5, and just unbelievable stuff was happening. If someone else had taken charge of the game, you knew Andre was going to have some miraculous hand, dealer Hanem on something to make a comeback. He is Hanem Andre after all, and has had just an excellent season. But everything else is up for grabs. I mean, we've seen some very wild results. You mentioned Ada in B1, which we'll talk about in a second, with a plus 80. But it's not just been B1. All the divisions have had wild swings recently in scores, and so we could see Amy jumping up into a promotion slot. Claire, Jonathan, Julian all have good chances at that. Even players in the negatives could hop into either promotion slot or just outside of it and perhaps get a bonus movement into A1 next season. And at the demotion line itself, the topmost spot, Leon, in at negative 62.5, that's so close to so many of these other players. Anything could happen here. A2 is definitely going to be a division to watch moving forward into session 6.
Yeah, I'd expect to see a lot of volatility in these last session 6 games for sure when it comes to A2.
And I know that session 6 tables will be determined, I believe, tonight. So we'll start to see those games get scheduled, and I will definitely be trying to catch as many of those as we can on stream.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, B1. I know so many people in B1, it's hard to pick a name, but I think the choice is clear.
Yes, the choice is obviously Harrison,
Harrison would be a good one.
Mr. B2 himself, now looking to make a run for uh, Mr. B1. Uh, Easily locked into promotion, I would say, barring dealing into 4 Yakuman in a row.
Yeah, I think that's what it would take. Harrison had an incredible session last time around. In fact, last 2 or 3 sessions, just on an absolute tear. Took over from Aldwin, who had been leading since the start with a plus 120 in the first session, and managed to overtake that mark and has a very comfortable 80-point lead. B1 has been crazy though.
Yeah, and like top three have pretty much clinched promotion, as Korak said. Harrison, Aldwin, Steven, very much locked in to promote to A2 next season. And then we get down into uh, the rest of us, and you see that the promotion line is actually the race there is super tight. Everyone from Eric down to uh, maybe even Travis, uh, but probably down to Ada. Everyone who's a positive score has a very decent shot at getting to one of those guaranteed promo spots. And just I don't know, falling into demotion a little bit harder. But we can see that there's a very tight race to get out of the demotion zone from around Patrick, maybe even including Edwin, down to around myself.
No,
But uh, yeah, a lot of tight races around these lines, as is the case with Marvel. And yeah, going to be interesting to see how these incentives end up playing out because when you're in the middle around where Ada and Travis are, uh, you're not exactly you're fairly safe from demotion, so you can play with a little bit less reserve and try to aim higher. But then uh, if you get hit too hard in the first couple of games, you may want to think about reining it back in before you actually fall into promotion or demotion danger.
yeah, and I know for the players in the middle, Ada, the first positive player, and Travis, the first negative player, and even beyond that a little bit, there's going to be a lot of incentive to be not just in the top 5, but like 6, 7, 8, maybe. Because, as you go lower and lower in the divisions, you get more and more bonus promotion slots potentially, and it really does have a feeling like you don't need to be top 5. Maybe you could be top 6 or 7 in B1 and get there, but the race for 6 and 7 is as close as it is to 4 and 5. It's so tight, and I have no way of predicting what's going to happen after all of these tables have finished. It is going to be a bunch of fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it'll be a very good, fun time for everyone involved. Definitely not for me because I will be stressed trying to play through my last games. I think another interesting part about B1 that Korak pointed out in chat is that the division averages line up really closely with the league averages here. Almost like single digits off, pretty much, in every category. Win rate is basically the same as the league average, deal-in rate 0.1% off, EV deal-in, uh, and win value. Everything is really, really close, and it seems to indicate that B1 is very much the uh, representative of the league average, league median. Uh, but yeah,
What's
good
really
place.
funny though is when we looked at A1, the group of players at the top had call percentages. Of course, Korak was over 40%, like 44%. I'm at 39. Anthony's at 38. Upper 30s. We look at this division. Harrison's up there at 38, but the rest of the top group very low. In fact, Travis at the fifth place overall, 15%, 15.8% call rate. That's very low. Of course, there's a high reach rate to compensate, but it seems the meta in B1 different to A1. It takes a different um, strategy to make it up to the top in this division this season at least.
Yeah, definitely seeing a lot more Ricci heavy players, it seems. Uh, and also, you see a sort of bigger variety in terms of the participation rates.
Mm.
Harrison and even Ada rock in the 62.2%, 68.5% participation rates. But you can also see people like Travis, who's at 41.9% participation, not playing in a lot of these hands or not reaching, not really making aggressive calls in these hands. So,
Aldwin as well, 45.5, and John, 46.3 in sixth place. Yeah, so definitely a lot of variety here.
mhm.
Okay, who do we want to pick out for B2?
B2. How about someone we saw in the last game, Stanley?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, Stanley,
Yeah,
as we just saw in our last matchup, near the top of the standings. And not too much to say about this division as we just covered it, but um, it has definitely been exciting to see this group in particular schedule their matches so early so we could actually catch them. And yeah, Sichuan, Eric feeling very comfortable, Wenshen as well. Beyond that, Stanley, Galhan, Charlie feeling good. Viet, Melissa just outside the promotion zone. Um, also, I'm guessing they kind of expect that there'll be a couple of extra promotion slots, but you can't dip. You don't want to dip too far down.
right. Like maintain positive score. Also, don't like get to plus minus zero, I think is gonna be the goal for a lot of these players who are just outside promotion zone.
Yeah, looking at
And I
this.
think,
Oh, go ahead.
oh no, sorry. I was just gonna mention that the demotion zone line is also going to be pretty interesting to watch as well. Alon right now closest to demotion at minus 90.2, the 30-point gap to the first person in demotion, but 30 points is very liable to disappear in a session six. Uh,
Right. Or be gate. Who knows?
mm,
Yeah, I was just noticing that the call percentages in this division also very low. It seems that the players near the top, even lower than B1, in fact, are taking the opportunity to reach and build value that way. Some of these average wins 6,400 for Sichuan, 6,355 for Gaohan, 6,502 for Charlie. Um, these are average win amounts that you get from Breachy typically to increase the value of your hand, and the win rates rather very strong for all of these players.
yeah, definitely. And when you're building your value through these sort of closed hands, you can definitely expect to see just higher hand values, given the possibility of Ipatsu and Ura coming up more often. But it'll be interesting to see if these metas sort of persist as people promote and demote.
Right.
Uh, because if you see Sichuan, Eric, and Wenchen, who are likely moving up into A2, or rather B1 next season, um, which is shown to be more call heavy and less conducive to Ricci styles, then it'll be interesting to see whether these players adapt or they can make the closed style work
Yeah,
and
maybe
just build
they
value that way.
cause the shift in the meta themselves.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to see how each of these divisions evolve over the course of the many seasons that we've had now. We're into our second year that the league is running, and
Woohoo!
in uh, none of the seasons have had the same vibe. It seems like every season, depending on who's sitting in there, um, the meta changes just slightly, or maybe even drastically. And as players settle into being consistent, say A1 players or A2 players or B1 players, so on and so forth, perhaps we'll see the meta gel a little bit. But the league is still growing and the meta is still evolving. So very exciting to see how that continues.
Okay, but let's be honest, like this season, the meta is get Yakuman, win, right?
There have been
Like,
so many Yakuman this season. Chase ran some numbers on, how long it would take to get 100 Yakuman. And if we went at the pace that we're going this season, we'll like cut the speed almost in half. Not quite 50%, but like um, when it would normally take what 8,000 hands or some 8,000 games or something, it's only 5,000. Like some ridiculous number. And yeah,
yeah,
there have been way too many Yakuman this season.
like all I know is that we're living in like a Yakuman like bountiful harvest. Like we sacrificed some really good Mahjong players like the last few seasons to get these. We got a Tenho this season. All I know is like next 3 seasons we're getting zero Yakuman. Like highest hand is going to be a Mangan
Yeah,
for sure.
where's my Yakuman? I've yet to get one.
Me too. Like I dealt into one, it's my turn, right? Like
Right,
mom said it
exactly.
was my turn for the Yakuman, right?
I will say, I had a Sod Uncle win earlier this week where if I'd broken Tempai, I would have summoned Suanko. I just don't
Unlucky,
can't read the wall well enough apparently.
right?
Well, here we are
Uh,
in B3, and this division has been all about Garth this season. I mean, look at the score, plus 331.6, just head and shoulders above the players in second and third place, who have been playing extremely well, I should add. But Garth, 10 first places already, and showing us a bit of what Pro Mahjong can do in a league style.
Yeah. And a disgusting win rate and deal-in rate gap. That's 18.8% gap, nearly double the recommended 10% gap between those rates. And this league is very much another example of, the top 1% continuing to beat down on the proletariat class.
Hmm.
Um, so many of these positive scores are actually just ridiculous in the 3 digits. And, Garth down to uh, Garth, Quincy, Blake, basically locked in for promotion. Gaetano, Michael, also feeling very comfortable. And then you have the promo line around Greg and Jen. And then, you know, I'll, you're expecting a good amount of extra promotion slots to be available for B3 given the trickle down effect. And yeah, and funnily enough, 11 people uh, in this, 11 people positive in a 20, is it only 22 people in
I
this
think,
league?
yeah,
Or
we
is it
had a
20?
couple people end up having to step away. So there are 22 people and a couple substitutes who aren't shown here.
Mhm.
But yeah, half the division positive, half the division negative, very balanced.
Very balanced. And then you look at the scores and it's like, oh, not so balanced.
Yeah, it is
Uh,
an interesting battle at the demotion zone as well. Very close around Scott, Kevin, Leslie, William, all within 30 points of each other.
mhm.
And of course,
Yeah. Yeah,
the
and looking at the call rates, we also see this trend of uh in comparison to something like A1, the call rates are a little bit lower, especially towards the top. Seems like a lot of value being built here in terms of closed hands. And again, just sort of seems like the lower we go in the divisions, the more we see this trend towards building value through closed hands. Maybe just players thinking that they can that more efficient play will allow them to build value more easily than trying to call down and pass up value against other players.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe in the upper divisions, well, A1 specifically, if it's just this season that's a little bit off kilter, it has more calls than usual, or if this will be a continued trend. But certainly in the at least what we've seen from B1, B2, and B3, the close style tends to be uh, giving stronger results. And I wonder if this is a record for most number of 1000 EV players after 5 sessions. Four in one group is incredible, and
Yeah.
I'm very curious to hear what the record EV is at the end of the season, and we'll see if Garth ends up getting there, because I imagine it's very close to this EV.
Right. And yeah, like Warrak pointed out, in some of these lower divisions, generally people have more time to build some of these monster hands that closed, uh, just because, people are still trying to get a hang of efficiency, trying to play their hands as quickly as possible. So this is a trend that we can probably see in other seasons as well. But yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely B3, a very exciting league to watch. And very likely we'll see Garth and perhaps Jen, the two of our resident Japanese pros, promoting into the next division next season.
Very exciting to watch. And that brings us to the final division, C1, the entry division for our league currently. We've grown all the way down to the C leagues, and that means that players who enter the league for the first time will start here. And that means we have no idea how much experience any of these players have. Some of these names I recognize. Only a few of these names I recognize as as being people who have many years of experience. Some of these names I recognize as being online streamers, and other names I just have no idea. But it's certainly been a lot of fun watching the C1 division and um, seeing all the action here. I mean, at the top we have Barry doing similarly strong to Garth, Jeff as well at plus 298, almost at the 300 mark. Those two are definitely the high water mark here, but very strong performances from David and Kevin as well. And Nathan and Jason have been consistently in the positives as well. Those 6 players are currently promoting out of B3, and we do expect a few more slots to promote as well.
Yeah, definitely. And again, beat or C1, super top heavy here. Uh, 8 positive scores out of 23 players. Not even half of the players in the league going positive. And just a huge drop off we see between Ray and Ian there. Almost an 80-point gap, or rather, almost a 90-point gap between them. And yeah, we're just hoping that uh, some of these players in the middle of the pack, they're still very well within range to end positive and hopefully get hold of one of those extra promo spots.
Right,
Uh,
attention all C1 players. Attempt your best to finish positive. There's a decent chance that you might be able to promote. And yeah, for
yeah,
anybody who joins the league in, next season in the summer session, you will most likely be starting here in the C1 division, and that only will not be true if we have enough entrants that we need a C2 division. But and most likely, yeah, it will be a C1, and there's no demotions here, so you can play without fear of dropping down. You can only go up and advance in the standings. And so I think that's why we see some of these incredibly positive scores. Everyone is playing a very, I want to say, optimistic style where you're fighting for your points, you're fighting for your advancement here. and a few players have been doing quite well with that style. I mean, Barry with a 30% win average is incredible, and an
Right.
EV of 1.2K is just awesome. And for some of these players who are just barely in the negatives, Ian, Drew, James, Kyle, Steve, and TJ, so on and so forth, very close to being able to move into the positives here and claim a bonus promotion slot.
Yeah, for sure. And I think C1, this entry league, is really entertaining to watch. You can even see it from the stats here. The participation rate, I think this is the first time we're seeing anything. We're seeing 74.8%, 74.7%. Some of these players are participating in almost 3 out of every 4 hands that they play, which is incredible. Um, and obviously towards the top, you see a little bit less, a little bit more restraint in terms of the participation. Uh, Maybe the experience coming in saying, I can build value more consistently this way. But uh, but yeah, I think C1, the entry division, always just a huge diversity, huge mix of players in terms of experience, play styles, people who are playing the game for years. Chat says Barry is 7 Dawn, apparently. So
That explains a lot.
yeah. Uh, and then, this is the beauty of Armel,
Yes,
the community open to everyone. Someone who's just new to the game, been playing for a couple months, can come into C1 and uh, take it all against people who've been playing for years and years and reach the heights of the ranked ladder. And so, yeah, uh, obviously C1, keep an eye on it. Session 6 will be hopefully just as wild as all the other sessions, as people, nothing to lose, just play for high scores. And, going into the next season, obviously, some new blood coming in and some people demoting out of B3, going to be, again, huge mix of really interesting players together. The very exciting place to be.
yeah, I cannot wait. We will certainly be broadcasting as much of C1 and all the other divisions as we can in these upcoming 2 weeks, the session 6 weeks. And I know that I personally will be attempting to stream as many of these games as I can without interfering with my own games whenever they get scheduled. So please look forward to watching as many of these exciting games as possible. That being said,
Yeah.
we have no more games for the evening. We've run out of divisions to talk about, so I think that's going to be it for us. Of course, as we've mentioned, the summer season is coming up. The last day to register is June 19th, coming up in just about a week. You can register, of course, on our website, AmericanReach.org. You can read the rules there, very similar to ladder mahjong, with some slight changes, no red fives, no Nagashi Mangan, other very small things that you'll want to read up on, but it's definitely a lot of fun. Be sure to check us out on Twitter and follow the stream. Make sure that you will be aware whenever we go live. And of course, if you'd like to see any of our previous broadcasts, those are all available on our YouTube channel. The fast link to that is tinyurl.com/ARMLYT. Well, this has been Nathaniel and Philip thanking you for tuning in and watching. Looking forward to seeing you on our next broadcast. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye bye.